Yes, y'all. We live once again. Once again, we are live. Shout out to the fam. All right, I decided to go live today on StreamYard, which I've been doing quite regularly. But we can bring family up on the stage, and it can be a lot more intense. You know, I can talk to y'all in a better way. So if your family, you're a friend of the channel, you already know, man. You got a place on the platform, on the panel. It's 2026, man. Happy New Year's to everybody. Shout out to all of the new subscribers, everybody who's been coming through. And yeah, I'm gonna start going live on StreamYard just so we can really chop it up and get tapped in with the family, man. So shout out to everybody who is up in this joint or everybody who's on their way to this joint. We're gonna wait for a little bit. We're gonna see what's happening, man. A lot of Shedeur news going on right now. There's a lot of speculations on whether or not Mr. Sanders is going to be moving up to if they're going to trade him or what they're going to do. But I can guarantee you this. That ain't going to happen. That is not happening. So shout out to the fan, man. Let's get into it. Let me turn this music off. Yes, indeed, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Hope you had a great New Year's. I spent my New Year's chilling, not doing too much. But today we want to get into what are the words going around town in Cleveland. Matter of fact, all my Ohio folks tap in. Because I'm going to need y'all ears and your eyes. And I need y'all to let me know what's going around in Cleveland. Is it a franchise deal going on? Or is this something like we just don't know and it's up in the air? And it's the Browns, so they could do anything. Man, so hit that like button when you come into the live. And we about to get started, man. We are about to get started. I watch Garrett Bush channel. I also watch my man FB Teams. He be getting the cracking. Let me figure this out, man. First time, not my first time on StreamYard, but it's been a minute.
That's the thing that he has learned from Kevin Stefanski. Most people around the NFL see the Kevin Stefanski and Browns relationship coming.
Can't do that. All right.
Maybe that's the thing that he has learned from Kevin Stefanski. Most people around the NFL see the Kevin Stefanski and Browns relationship coming to an end. But new leaks have came out from Mr. Jay Fowler that there's a particular coach in mind.
All right, so hold up. Y'all hearing that? Like I'm hearing that. And we're dwindling down to the end of the season. Will Kevin Stefanski get fired? Will Shedeur Sanders get franchised? I think it's not so much up in the air. I think it's about a 90% chance that Kevin Stefanski is going to be fired by the end of the season. And I think with the firing of Kevin Stefanski, that is going to pretty much let you know that Shedeur Sanders has the front run seat, and you can basically go ahead and crown it as his team. On this post right here, man, it's looking like they're trying to say that Miami's coach may end up in Cleveland. That would be crazy. I haven't heard that, but let's check it out.
The worst freaking state to live in right now is Maryland, and nobody's talking about it. I've spent
mind. So Mr. Mike McDaniel, is probably most famously known for taking Tua Tagovailoa after Brian Flores called him everything but a child of a god. and turned him into one of the most prolific passers in the NFL for multiple years, had one of the more explosive
Hold up, y'all.
offenses, and even this year found a way to get Devon A-Chain a really good, valuable time. But I think he's somebody who can really revolutionize offenses and really put players in the best place. But I'm going to show you why I think that. Before I do that, it seems like it's the end of the season, so few players have been asked about what they think about Kevin Stefanski and his future. So let's start with the man himself. Shedeur, how do you feel about Kevo, huh?
I'm truly thankful. I'm thankful that I was able to come here. I'm thankful that I do have a relationship with all the coaches. And I'm thankful that just being evolving from day one, evolving from being a hungry dog to now. Like it's exciting, and sometimes I think about those days, So I don't take anything for granted. I think overall the communication with the coaches and everything been really good, and I'm just thankful to just be here in general.
Now, some people were saying that, hey, man, you didn't specifically say Kevin Stefanski. They said Shedeur Sanders pulled a Kevin Stefanski instead of, whenever Kevin was asked about Shedeur would be like, well, all the rookies. So Shedeur said, well, all the coaches. So I mean, maybe that's the thing that he has learned from Kevin Stefanski. We was wrong. He has been learning something from Kevin Stefanski. How to bob and weave around a question. Now let's hear somebody, the Warden, Denzel Ward, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Argue with your mama. Let's hear what he has to say about Kevin Stefanski's future. This is an interesting take.
I said, we're all in this together. I know like our record isn't the best record, but it's not just one person or one coach. It doesn't just fall. I mean, it falls all on his hands in a sense. That's what the outside world sees it as, like, oh, it's just his fault. But it's not just his fault. It falls on all of us, falls on myself, every single player that's going out there and playing, and every single coach. We take this record upon all of us. We got to all own it. And like I said, this is not the season that we necessarily wanted. But yeah, I mean, we're in it fighting with each other, and we got each other's back.
Hey, man, I don't think there's anything wrong with at least supporting your coach, right? Everybody doesn't have to go out there and be super mad at somebody who's already getting kicked while he's down. And I think, Jerry G don't do a lot of things right, but I do think the way he explained this, I think we could kind of see this.
How have you seen him kind of handle these 2 years, but especially, lately with all the rumors around him?
So one thing is for sure, two things for certain. Man, I can't stand Jerry Jeudy. I think whatever his whatever his reputation was coming from the Denver Broncos, that shit followed him. And I don't think he is a help to the team. But I do believe that Coach Kevin Stefanski may be getting fired. You got plenty of people saying that Kevin Stefanski will be fired by the end of this season. I'm not sure, I ain't right there, but I can tell you this. It looked like Kevin Stefanski is not going to make it out of this. That's what it's looking like to me. That's what it's looking like to me. Taking Shedeur Sanders, Kevin Stefanski, and the Browns 2025 season. Let's see what they're talking about. G. Bush going to give it up 100. Shout out to his platform, man. If you're not subscribed to his channel, check out G. Bush. He be dropping jewels on Shedeur Sanders, man. And I'm really, really, really tired of hearing all of the, at the end of the day, people just rambling and moving the goalposts. That's all I'm seeing. A bunch of rambling and a bunch of moving of the goalposts. Double tap that screen when you come into the live, man. It's 2026. It's a brand new year. We're getting down to it. Shedeur Sanders right now is in judgment day as far as the NFL could be concerned. A lot of people got their opinion. Some people are saying that he's going to be the franchise quarterback. Others are saying that he's going to get traded. I think in your mind, if you're saying that Shedeur Sanders is going to get traded, then you kind of just talking out the side of your neck. You're not being real with yourself.
We're gonna have a conversation. I think that you guys are starting to see a little bit. It gets kind of.
You're not being real with yourself, and we don't really see no signs of them saying it's the only people that are saying that they think that Shedeur Sanders is not going to make it with the Browns is people who are biased and don't really want to face the truth. They don't really want to. They don't want to face the truth. They don't want to sit down and evaluate what happened in the season. What are you seeing now? Because I'm seeing a whole bunch of posts with Dylan Gabriel, and the posts are basically saying, "Look, it's posts of Dylan Gabriel, and they got these stats up next to Shedeur's stats, right? And these stats are pretty much saying it's looking even, but it's just showing that Dylan had less interceptions. Dylan had 2 interceptions, and Shedeur has like 10 interceptions. But nobody is taking into account that Dylan Gabriel average pass was 4.5 yards per attempt. So, with that being said, who's in between a pass that's 4.5 yards? Nobody. It's basically a pitch. You could throw it underhanded. You could have rolled it on the goddamn ground. It doesn't matter. The man is 4 yards away from you. So with that being said, the reason Dylan Gabriel didn't have a whole bunch of turnovers is because the coaching staff at Cleveland recognized from the jump that Dylan Gabriel was a turnover machine. They knew that off the top. They knew that Dylan Gabriel was a turnover machine. So with that being said, when they seen that he was a turnover machine and he had a weak arm, they drew up this little weak ass high school offense to where he could not have to use his arm. He could get the ball out of his hand 4 or 5 yards and get the shit up the field. It's obvious that when Shedeur Sanders came into the game, the first game he ever played, he threw 17 times in one half. Dylan Gabriel threw only 7 in one half. So I'm not stupid. The first thing I said was, okay, they don't trust Dylan Gabriel's arm. I already knew that from the little. I ain't never in my life seen dinks and dunks to the magnitude that Dylan Gabriel was dinking and dunking. I remember they used to say Dak Prescott was a dink and dunker. And to an extent, maybe he was, but god damn, I ain't never seen the shit that Dylan Gabriel was doing in the NFL. Never in my life have I seen some shit like that. So with that being said, you're just going to act like Dylan didn't even have a chance to throw an interception. He's not throwing the ball far enough. They kept him throwing the ball in the safe zone. Like I said, you could have threw that shit underhanded. You could have done anything you wanted to do with a Dylan Gabriel pass. It wasn't going far enough to be intercepted. He's not throwing over the line, right? We ain't seen no passes over the line. Every pass is off to the side, tight end, in the flat, screen pass, or some kind of system pass. But we're not seeing Dylan Gabriel goddamn throw the ball down the field. Double tap that screen when you come into the live, man. Let's talk about it. I'm tired of all the haters, and I'm tired of all of the backhanded compliments. I'm tired of people saying that has he done enough to prove in your eyes? First of all, they don't have to prove anything to any of us. I believe that what's needed to be proven to the Cleveland staff has been proven. And I'm gonna tell you, it was proven in the Baltimore Ravens game. Say what you want. The shit that was needed to be proved, or the things that was needed to be proven by Shedeur Sanders was proven in the Baltimore Ravens game. No, the skill, the footwork, the timing, none of that was there. We didn't see that. But what we did see was the arm. We saw the arm off the break. If you didn't see the arm, then you was looking for something else. But we saw the arm off the break. We saw that the arm was tremendous. We saw that he could get the ball down the field. We saw him throw a 35 to 40-yard strike to Jerry Jeudy. And it was like, oh, for the first time this year in Cleveland, we've seen a 40-yard dart for the first time by Shedeur Sanders. So, in my opinion, the staff already knew what the boy could do. They've been seeing him. They know what his arm was about. Now, the head honcho was not about to let him get his arm out of the gate. You know, a lot of times that they let him do things, it was to set him up. It was to say, oh, he ain't gonna be able to step up to this level. He's not gonna be able to rise to this occasion. And every time he rises to occasion, double tap that screen or hit the like button when you come into the live. He rose to the occasion each and every time. We didn't see no waiver. We never heard him say, I don't know if I can do it. We never heard this boy say, hey, it's really, really getting to me. And so, with that being said, we got to know that, hey, it ain't going down. He said it himself. Y'all ain't about to see me fail. Hit you right back, Trey. Y'all ain't about to see me fail. And they thought that they could manufacture his fail, or they could manufacture his failure. Nah, you can't do that. You thought you could do it, but you couldn't. You tried to do it, but it didn't work. Y'all tried to silence him, and now look. Even before he got in the game, he was already the most popular football player in the world. I know that shit sounds like a stretch, but if we're going by Google, and we're going by social media, and we're going by popularity, he is the most popular football player in the world. Nobody's talking about whoever you thought was the most popular football player in the world. Nobody's talking about that person. Nobody is talking about the person that you and I thought was the most popular football player in the world. In my mind, I would say Tom Brady. But what recent stats are saying is that Shedeur Sanders is the most sought after, the most looked into athlete as far as football players. He's in the world, he's number 5. So, Kevin Stefanski, I don't believe you can survive Shedeur Sanders, to be honest with you. When it all comes down to it, Kevin Stefanski is not going to survive the end of this season. And if he does, then somebody's making a huge, huge, huge mistake. And that's just real. If you're crazy enough to get rid of the star power that is Shedeur Sanders, you got to be crazy. And you deserve everything that is coming to you, to be honest with you. Now, I'm going to listen to Garrett Bush real quick, man, because he be chopping it up. Let me see. The topic of this, I believe, is dealing with, obviously, Shedeur Sanders. Talking Shedeur Sanders, Kevin Stefanski, and the Browns 2025 season with big snacks.
Exhausting when you guys we keep having these same conversations. And I think you're starting to see it a little bit in terms of where you at in how this operates. I think a lot of people, a lot of individuals don't quite understand the way that things seem to be a little backwards here. And what happens is when you start to, come into a fan base and you start to come around people, there's a lot of individuals that come from different walks of life wherever you are at, whether you are, whether you come from a different state, or you're business owners, or you're a community leader, or you somebody who is a leader in your family. Y'all got a different mentality about the way you go about winning and doing things. And I think you're starting to see that when you lose for so long, When you ain't been winning, that permeates everything that you do. That permeates everything that you are. That permeates how you move, how you think, how you reciprocate, how you speak things into existence. And what we have here in Cleveland is a complete lack of understanding about what winning is. And I believe
Ooh. Hey, listen. A lot of y'all, especially Cleveland fans and folks, not going to want to hear that. A lot of you Cleveland fans are not going to want to hear that, but it's the truth. Double tap that screen, man. What city and state y'all listening in from? Talk to me. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders. It's 2026. We all way in the mix, and we are not trying to continuously hear the moving of the goalposts and the slander of the name of the Sanders in general. The Sanders name in general is constantly under attack, and it's ridiculous. So I'm shining the light again from 2026 into the end of his career, probably. That I don't even think I'm gonna have to do this that long, because in this coming season, this year, y'all people are going to see and figure out. Even the people that's mad, Cleveland has been tricked into a state of just being mediocre, and they are okay with that. And it's ridiculous. It don't make no goddamn sense. Double tap that screen when you come into the live, and let me know what city and state y'all listening there from, man. For sure.
The one thing that I'm going to say, and the one thing that we talk about all the time is being in a position where I thank God that I did play team sports. I thank God that I played team sports. And sometimes it's difficult, and I don't mean to degrade or demean anybody, right? I don't mean to knock nobody. You know what I'm saying? There's other things and other ways you can get these life lessons. But the life lessons that have been given to me about the game of football have been things that I take with me that some people don't understand, right? So I'll give you an example about myself. A lot of people don't know. I've had 17 surgeries, 17, right? I'll give you a case in point. When me and my wife during COVID, we were supposed to get a K-1 visa. And the reason during COVID, everything was shut down. We couldn't get a visa. We couldn't do nothing. Like, she was just basically, she quit her job in the Philippines and was supposed to come to the United States. And then COVID happened. All jobs stopped. Everything stopped. So she basically quit her job, and she was like in the Philippines, like with nothing. Like, was like, yo, I don't have any livelihood. And the U.S. Embassy was like, we can't do nothing. During that time period, I had neck surgery. So let me just give you some background about my situation. So I have herniated disc in my neck. So I had neck surgery, right? I had neck surgery in 2018. Basically, my whole left arm went numb, completely dead. It was the worst pain I've ever had in my life. At the time, I went to a doctor. It hurt so bad. I went to a surgeon because some guy just kept telling me something wrong with you. And so I went, they took a look at my neck, and they said, we got to get you in surgery immediately because you have 4 herniated discs in your neck, and I have a disease called spondylolisthesis, which is basically a narrowing of your spinal cord. So basically, the disc herniation was draped in between my spinal cord, which cut off all sensations to my left arm. So there's like, if we don't have surgery, the nerve will die. Now, obviously, that came from playing years of football. And so I had the surgery. They told me after I had the surgery, I said, all right, is this going to get any better? And they said, yeah, you have 2, but you need 4 operated on. They said, you need a spinal fusion, but we can't give you a spinal fusion because you're too young. Fusions only last 10 years. At the time, I was only roughly in my mid-30s. They said it won't last, and you can't have multiple fusions. They also told me that I need a back fusion. I had already had back surgery 5 years prior to that. So I go into a situation. So they put me in a program called pain management. because I'm too young to have a corrective surgery, and I'm not old enough to, I can't really continue.
Double tap that screen when you come into the live, folks, for city and state you're listening in from. Appreciate you. Happy New Year's to everybody that's chiming in. Let's listen in to Garrett Bush. And after this, I'm going to read some of my comments, man. Y'all got to see some of these comments. But let's continue.
Continue to get it, but I can't have narcotics and medication. So they had to come up with a thing called nerve ablation, which they would do is basically burn the nerves in my neck. They would go in and burn them so I wouldn't feel the pain. I would get epidurals, and I was getting these surgeries, right? And so you say, G. Bush, what does this all got to do with everything? It's a long about story. Well, I tell people all the time, football gave me an opportunity to go to college. Football gave me an opportunity, but the things football told me about life the most was sometimes things are going to happen to you and you're going to have to keep going. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting a little bit, and you might not even get the reward you thought about it. But the thing about football it taught me was, sometimes you're going to lose some games, you're going to win some games. But it's about continuing to go together and come to a common goal and coming together with people and doing something greater than yourself. And so those lessons that I got from football taught me a bunch of different things that I lean on today, right? I lean on those things today. When people talk about going out and playing and doing those things, I was one of those guys who went out and played, and I didn't play in the league. I didn't get no $1 million. I didn't get a bunch of that stuff, right? But the things and the life lessons that football told me and taught me were the things that I consistently use today in my real life. See, the difference between me and a lot of other people is, the problem is you could be at a certain level, right? You can be wherever you're going to be at, whatever show you was. For 10 years, I toiled. For 10 years, 12 years, I've been doing this stuff since 2010, right? And sometimes you're not going to have the meteoric rise. Sometimes you're going to do your best shows of your lifetime. And you ain't going to get nothing to do with it, right? You're going to have the best shows in your life, and it don't matter. Football continues to teach.
All right, man. So we're going to look at some of these comments, man. Because I tell you, if I can show y'all these comments, man, y'all going to lose y'all mind in this month.
Get a rap game, but my fans knew it. Don't get scared now. Tell the people they been sleeping. I been counting big. Now that shit getting scared, niggas creeping. You can better leave now. What they do, they just sleep in. I turned in a band, boy, that bitch stay on my head now. Get a rap game, but my fans knew it. Don't get scared now. Tell the people they been sleeping. I been counting big. Now that shit getting scared, niggas creeping. You can better leave now. What they do, they just sleep in. I turned in a band, boy, that bitch stay on my head now. Get a rap game, but my fans knew it.
All right, man. So let's peep it, man. All right. First joint says the youngest, most watched QB in the league right now, which this is very true. This is very true. He is the youngest and most watched QB in the league right now, and that's money. That is money. So if you think or thought for a second that this money-making young man is going to be silenced or shut down, money is the root to it all. They might be acting like, yeah, man, he not gonna play and da 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 da. But guess what? Whoever thought that were all wrong. I even thought for a second that he wasn't gonna get on the field. But that didn't happen. What did happen was exactly what they tried to not let happen. All right. So next it says, watch out, 12 throwing bombs. All right. And you know what I'm really looking for? I'm looking for the hating comments. Imagine if Shedeur Sanders started the season for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, let's imagine that. If Shedeur Sanders had started the season for the Cleveland Browns, I guarantee you right now, he would have been prepared for it. And if he was prepared for it, then we would have a totally different outcome. Now, we can't talk about that shit because at the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders didn't get that shot. And they made sure that he didn't get that shot. But had he got that shot, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. He'd be rookie of the year. And, they would have got somebody, because let's just use this for example. Let's just say you draft Shedeur in the 3rd round, right? Or you could have drafted him in the 1st round. You could have got, you may not have one of those running backs you got, but you would have some offensive line power. And that might have done a whole lot for the team if Shedeur had an actual line. But I don't think he really worried about that, because at Colorado, he didn't have a goddamn line. And what did he do? In Colorado, he still bombed on their ass with no line. So coming to the NFL and not having a line really wasn't a big change for Shedeur Sanders. But, you know what I'm saying? You could best believe this. He gonna have a line next year if they smart. The Steelers need Shedeur Sanders as a DB. We're gonna skip that one. Just goes to show you how full of shit GMS and owners were for purposely passing on him in the draft. All right. See, this is the shit that people need to hear, because we don't really get a chance to hear this much. Now it says he can't read defenses or throw his receivers open. They were just wishing he hadn't watched him play. How did Travis Hunter get the coveted award? Who threw to him? How did 4 of his receivers get drafted? All right, that's a good damn question. It says they're saying that he can't read defenses or throw his receivers open. They were just wishing we hadn't watched him play. How did Travis Hunter get the coveted award, and who threw the ball to him? How did 4 of his receivers get drafted? That's a good goddamn question. How did 4 of his receivers get drafted, but he's no goddamn good? I guess he was throwing short passes, because we all know that in Colorado he was throwing downfield. But what they will say is, oh, well, he had the best receivers. What the fuck does that mean? He still has to throw the ball down the field. Now, Carnell Tate, Ohio State, nice. They need him or a homie from Arizona, Jordan Tyson. Weapons. Yeah, get Shedeur some goddamn weapons when y'all want to sit around and talk about he ain't this and he ain't that. Get him some weapons, because he has 0 weapons on this team right here. You put some real receivers on this team, we ain't got to talk about it. But what we can say is this. I don't care what kind of, you could put some weapons around Dillon Gabriel, but it's got to be a whole different kind of game, a little tailored, neutered, snipped up ass game that ain't really going to win shit. You're not going to win nothing like that. You're not going to win anything like that. Now, with the defense, you might can stand up to some people and squeak out a couple games. But let me tell you this. Kevin Stefanski was doing his best goddamn coaching when Dillon Gabriel was playing. When Dillon Gabriel was playing, Kevin Stefanski was trying his best shit. But I feel like when Shedeur came in, man, he just got back on bullshit. Straight like that. He got back on bullshit.
Don't get scared now. Tell the people they been sleeping. I've been counting dead. Now that shit.
How will you spend tomorrow during that Steelers-Browns game? Will you watch with teammates? Will you watch at home?
Nah, I'm trying to make it out of here so I can call Shedeur real quick.
Hold up, man. God damn. This is Tyler Huntley, man. This is Tyler Huntley speaking on Shedeur Sanders, and really they was asking him about his game that he just got finished playing. But it just so happens that Shedeur Sanders was the first thing that came out of his damn mouth. with Shedeur
How
Sanders.
will you spend tomorrow during that Steelers-Browns game? Will you watch with teammates? Will you watch at home?
Nah, I'm trying to make it out of here so I can call Shedeur real quick. Yeah, make sure he can get it done. So now I'll probably just be, just watching it and get some rest.
How will you spend tomorrow during that Steelers-Browns game? Will you watch with teammates? Will you watch at home?
Nah, I'm trying to make it out of here so I can call Shedeur real quick.
I'm trying to make it out here so I can call Shedeur real quick. You see what I'm saying? They want the NFL and everybody and anything that has to do with the NFL to be against Shedeur Sanders, but it just ain't gonna happen. He's too good of a person. He's too good of a man. And when you really look at what's going on, everybody loves him. Everybody likes him. There's no malice towards him. And yeah, it's not gonna be nobody. If somebody's hating on him, you're gonna see exactly who it is. You're gonna see exactly who it is. You're gonna know why their asses is hating. You're gonna know why. They ain't got no other goddamn choice. And that's it.
Yeah, make sure he can get it done. So now I'll probably just be, just watching it and get some rest.
Big ups to Tony Grossi for saying he loved the way Shedeur handles himself in the press conferences. He don't get all out of shape. He's hard on himself. And that's what you want to see in an NFL quarterback, an NFL player. He's very mature. And this is what I'm saying. Tony Grossi, you just redeemed yourself. And I really give you a big shout out for turning that thing around and talking positive about Shedeur Sanders, because that's what we need in the league, on and off the field. He carries himself good. He has good manners. And I'm telling you, come from a well-built family as well. So with that being said, I really think he will do really, really, really good in the NFL being a franchise quarterback. And like Tony Grossi said, he just growing. He growing. And he's going to get better with time. Big ups to Tony.
Here on second down. You're trash at football. You are not that guy. Shedeur is your daddy. Shedeur, you're that guy, dog.
So first and foremost, that was a bad pass. He had another pass that could have been a pick six. That's a turnover-worthy throw. Let me also tell you suckers something too. In the middle of that game, he was cooking. He was getting in that rhythm. I saw the deep corner route to Cedric Tillman. Work. He found Harold Fannin Jr. for a touchdown. Work. I seen 3 throws with anticipation through the middle of the field to Jerry Jeudy. Work. I saw the slant pass. On time, ready to go. Work. I seen him running, moving his sticks. All that back talking and all that, he taking these sacks. He took 2 of them for 2 yards. Let me show you, he ran for another 20 again. And guess what? So I'm dropping dimes. The first one, completely not on him. We gonna talk about Cam Robinson. Boy, that boy Cam Robinson he had the greatest hits. He was getting holding penalties. He was getting false starts. He was getting illegal procedures. He was being So first and foremost, that was a bad pass. He had another pass that could have been a pick six. That's a turnover-worthy throw. Let me also tell you suckers something too. In the middle of that game, he was cooking. He was getting in that rhythm. I saw the deep corner route to Cedric Tillman. Work. He found Harold Fannin Jr. for a touchdown.
Let's see what they're talking about. My mic sounds nice. Check 1 2 1 2. This my man FB Tings. He be getting to it as well. Dropping real shit.
He came. He's been the same coach since I've been here. Through the ups and downs, you know, he never changed. He always stayed consistent. You know, and that's all you can ask for a coach. You know, just never change when things are going good. Stay the same when things are going bad. You stay the same. You know, that's great.
I mean, would you like to see him stick around?
Oh yeah, of course. Well.
And actually, it cut off 1 second. This is what they cut out.
He came. You know, that's great.
I used to wake up every morning choking on thick mucus until I tried a 7-second mucus melting ritual that completely cleared my lungs. You've probably been told that once you get older, or if you smoked for years, your lungs will never be the same. That you just have to live with the constant coughing, the thick mucus and phlegm stuck in your throat, the wheezing that keeps you up at night, and that scary feeling of running out of breath just walking up a flight of stairs. But what if I told you none of that is actually true? I used to think I'd spend the rest of my life gasping for air, unable to take a full, deep breath. I had tried every inhaler, medication, and therapy, but nothing really worked. Not for long, anyway. That was until I stumbled across something completely different. A 7-second mucus melting ritual I do every morning. It's not a drug, not a machine, and not some expensive treatment. It's a simple, powerful technique I learned from Elizabeth Moffat, America's top expert in lung health. People call her the queen of clean lungs, and for good reason. Her tiny ritual helped me clear out years of sticky mucus clogging up my airways. Within days, I was finally able to breathe fully again. No more panicking from coughing fits, no more wheezing, no more heaviness in my chest. And I wasn't the only one. Thousands of people have used it to completely transform their breathing. One man in his 70s told me he hiked with his grandkids last weekend, something he hadn't done in over a decade. Another mom said she walked through the grocery store without needing to stop and catch her breath every few aisles. What's wild is that this technique focuses on a little-known factor that makes breathing harder. Not age, not smoking, not weak lungs, but years of thick, stuck mucus silently blocking airways and cutting off oxygen. And once that's gone, you can finally fill your lungs with clean, fresh air again and feel energy rushing back into every part of your body. So if you're tired of battling your lungs every single day and just want one easy fix to breathe easy again, tap the button below to watch a short video that shows you exactly how it works, but don't wait too long. This 7-second lung clearing ritual is so effective, it's quietly disrupting the lung health industry. They don't want people finding out about it because it means fewer prescriptions, fewer doctor visits, and a whole lot more freedom. Tap the button now. Trust me, breathing freely again, really freely, changes everything.
Is every person who works at a desk doomed to get a neck hump? Not if you do this thing. I always thought.
I mean, would you like to see him stick around?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, you want me to say no? Crazy.
and you know, so it's you're never gonna get an honest answer from people who is getting their checks cut, you know what I'm saying? Or not, you know, not just checks cut, but minutes laid out upon them from, you know, Kevin Stefanski. Look, just say some nice things about the guy. I'm not sure if they're gonna give you their full opinions on how they feel about Kevin Stefanski, because again, what is, you think I'm stupid? Like what it is. So now let's hear a few things from Shedeur Sanders, not Shedeur Sanders, Kevin Stefanski. One, speaking about Shedeur Sanders' growth and
yeah, let's listen to this, because this dude always got some bullshit to say. But I've noticed in the days and recent, he has been changing up and speaking a little bit more soundly about Shedeur. That's probably because people been, you know, side-eyeing him, all that type of stuff. But let's listen in.
The season, and as well as Kevin Stefanski on if he feels the need to address the team about job security.
thing is what's in front of us, and that's our game. Sunday down in Cincinnati, that's all we care about.
I think continue to build on the things that he's doing really well. Like I've told you guys, there's things that you ask him to improve upon each week, and he's diligent about those things. So it's just improving, and then, winning. And we talked about that last week. We want to win as a football team. Obviously, as quarterbacks, we get judged oftentimes on wins and losses, and it's important, to finish strong. So that's what he's going to try and put this team in position to go win. For me, really, I have the blinders on to the final game here versus Cincinnati, and that's where his focus is as well.
Hey, man, I know Kevin Stefanski's got a bad rap, and, I've said not awful things about him. I've just called him a terrible coach for the past few months, but I do think he's a half decent human being. I don't think he's a hateful person. Y'all, if you know me, I genuinely think he's just bad at coaching offensive football. Hence why he's had to give up his offensive play calling twice. But I think deep down, I don't think he hates Shedeur, but I do think the thing that would make him the most sense is him picking Dillon Gabriel and him being great, and Shedeur not being great, right? Because that it justifies his decision making, because again, that is a Dillon Gabriel guy. Now, going off from an offensive, supposed offensive guru that we saw flashes of in the Coach of the Year years. Speak about someone in Mike McDaniel, who instantly, when he took over an offense, revolutionized the Miami offense. And let's speak about that. So Mike McDaniel coached up Tua Tagovailoa to lead the league in passing yards. And I'm gonna break down some of those things. I'm gonna show you the Kyle Shanahan tree, which Mike McDaniel was from, and kind of explain a very small bit about the offense, and really not the offense, but more the systematic idea of what they want to do, right? So here's the report from Jay Fowler. Fowler says Stefanski might be the strongest retread candidate, and the Giants would be an ideal fit. We talked about that.
I don't think that guy down in Miami would be a good fit for this team. And I could be wrong. Don't get me lying, but I don't know. What kind of offense should Shedeur be in? Because at the end of the day, this video was talking about the Browns leaked next head coach could maximize Shedeur Sanders. So this is dictating that they're moving on from Kevin Stefanski.
That, and trades of any kind are never but I'd be tricky trying to trade a coach who's 7-26 over the past 2 seasons. Something funny, my sense is that Mike McDaniel would be a candidate. The
7-26, oh my God.
Dolphins move on, and Cleveland's job is open. He still has and we'll see what's enough. Sorry, I had parts of that cut off. So my sense is that McDaniel would be a candidate in Cleveland, and should the Dolphins move on with Cleveland's job open, he still has some support in Miami. We will see if that's enough. He has made a case to stay. From what I've gathered, the Dolphins GM search won't necessarily be centered around fitting with McDaniel. It's more so about finding the best fit for a team in general. And remember, I think it's funny, before we even get down this road, I was the one saying, hey, Mike McDaniel is probably going to get fired somehow before Kevin Stefanski. Remember the Tank Bowl? It was the Dolphins versus the Browns earlier in the season, and you remember how that kind of went down. But Mike McDaniel is, if nothing, a polarizing coach, right? Some people don't like his press conferences. I make fun of him from time to time. I do like the fact that he giving my guy Quinn Ewers a chance, and it's been proven that he's done some good things in some impressive offenses, as well as doing things with players who maybe some people didn't see as the best, right? Instead of coming in and crapping on Tua, he actually came in, I remember, and showed Tua a highlight mix of him. So he is like the quintessential players coach, someone who's going to really pour into people, right? So, and I think not just Shedeur Sanders, I think Harold Fant, I think Quinshon Judkins, I think Dylan Sampson, I think, well, he's not a defensive guy, but Carson Schwarzer, just a little bit, Isaiah Bond, right? I think all of these young players, specifically the young offensive players, can benefit off somebody not only who is somebody that's that unique, but also somebody who has revolutionized offense and finds awesome ways to maximize the talents that he has in ways that, look, let's just be honest, it seems like Kevin Stefanski hasn't been able to do at least in these last 2 seasons. Again, remember the last 2 seasons in which he himself has given up play calling duties because he wasn't doing enough for the team. So let's go through or down the Mike McDaniel's coaching tree. So before he was a head coach, McDaniel served as
that shit was just another way to get Dillon Gabriel a couple more weeks at playing quarterback, but it didn't work. It didn't work.
An assistant coach for Gary Kubiak. Shout out, because he did big things for my Texans, even though he won a Super Bowl somewhere else. Anyway, Mike Shanahan, obviously, Mike Petine, Dan Quinn, and Kyle Shanahan. So 5 of these years were spent on Shanahan's coaching staff. So he is technically a Shanahan coaching tree. And if you don't know, I think I explained this in one of my second channel videos. The Shanahan offense is the tree of the West Coast offense. So that's going to be a lot of intermediate routes. There's going to be a lot of stretching the field a little bit. Especially with Mike McDaniel's style of offense, it's a lot of him specifically. It's a lot of shifts, right? It's a lot of eye candy and the quarterback turning himself, turning his back to the defense, and a little bit of what's called sleight of hand when it comes to it. Really elaborate play action, heavy play action, lots of zone as well. So it's kind of interesting because Kevin Stefanski is a wide zone offense, which is it's a zone, but it's a lot of heavy under center. Whereas for the Dolphins, it's a lot of shotgun, and I think that has a lot more to do with what Tua is comfortable with. But it's a lot more of that shotgun feel where there's a lot of the play action and things that happen are deep there, and then the running back gets a really deep set when running the wide zone. So sometimes that allows your offensive line to hold blocks longer on a zone play, but sometimes it also allows for penetrative defensive ends to take advantage of the longer developing of zone runs instead of the less gap scheme. So that's something to just kind of be aware of. But it's a lot of flashiness, a lot of fun. But again, not necessarily predicated off the deep ball, but it's more about taking your dinks and dunks and hitting the space in the intermediate middle part of the throw, those backside digs that Shedeur Sanders loves to hit, right? Those types of things. Then to open up for those big boy posts and those big boy streaks, the Tyreek Hill type thing. So it's a really interesting, fun offense, and one that's been able to produce a lot of great days in Miami. So again, looking at the long list of what our guy Mike McDaniels have been in. Again, like I said, shout out to my Texans, man. But start off Denver Broncos as a coaching intern, and then for my Texans from 06 to 08 as an offensive assistant coach. We did some 8 and 8. 8 and 8 is what we did best back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Houston, and then obviously Washington Commanders from 11 to 2013. Actually, 11 to 2013. Yeah. So wide receivers coach and offensive assistant coach, New York Giants. Remember, this is back in November 10th.
The worst freaking state to live in right now is Maryland, and nobody's talking.
We read earlier from Jay Fowler about him being a retrade candidate for the Giants, but this has been developing since before November because Dan Orlovsky's been talking about it.
Dan, as the Giants start to look forward now, who should they be looking out for as a new head coach? What qualities should this person have?
Well, the number one name that I would pay attention to if I were the Giants is what happens in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski. If I could handpick a guy, it would be Stefanski. He's an outstanding coach, 2-time coach of the year. I understand people in Cleveland are like, this guy can't coach. There's a lot of empirical data we would say otherwise. This is a difficult spot for the Giants. I really believe that because there's no question you need to get a guy that's going to bring the best out of Jackson Dart, obviously. But it's also...
All right. First of all, what we're gonna do is we're gonna address the fact that Dan Orlovsky and Kevin Stefanski had the same goddamn agent as well as Dylan Gabriel. So every time I hear Dan Orlovsky vouching for Kevin Stefanski, it just blows the whistle that you vouching for him because y'all motherfuckers have the same interests. Y'all have the same agent. You guys have the same y'all got the same circle. Dylan Gabriel is also an agent of that same goddamn agent. So when I hear Dan Orlovsky talking about Kevin Stefanski and getting jobs and how good he is, the first thing that comes to my mind is that you have all the reasons to say that. Y'all got the same agent. Who knows? Your agent could be related to one of y'all. I don't know what it is, but I know Dylan Gabriel, Kevin Stefanski, and Dan Orlovsky, D.O., have the same agent. They have the same sports agent. So I don't believe nothing that he says when it comes down to Kevin Stefanski.
So when the Giants have been at their best, it's been under like a coach like a Parcells or a Tom Coughlin, a defensive-minded, hard-nosed, disciplinarian, tough. It fits the culture. It's not just offensive-centric. So it's trying to find the balance. I would go Kevin Stefanski. I would go Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator of the Chargers. I would entertain John Gruden and maybe Matt Nagy, but Kansas City. But I would pay attention to see what's going on in Cleveland.
Interesting. Closely monitored. Maybe the
man, run up the likes, run up the goddamn likes, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Shedeur Sanders, 2026. And we're just gonna look at all of this and how this whole thing unfolded. The Shedeur Sanders story is quite an amazing story to see all this play out the way it's been playing out. Let's listen to some of the criticism that you're going to hear about Shedeur Sanders and that you don't hear about Jackson Dart and all of these other mediocre dudes who been doing a lot of mediocre play, but you ain't been hearing nothing about it. Patrick Mahomes.
One or two good throws. Like, see, he can play quarterback in the NFL. Yes, of course he can do it. There are other quarterbacks in the NFL who also can play quarterback. That does not mean they are franchise quarterbacks that you want to build your team around. There are also the plays Shedeur Sanders has, specifically in this one where he drops back 15 yards, the lollipop up in the air, and it gets picked off. We look at
that was the worst play Shedeur ever did. I will give you that. But when I look at these little grimy dudes that get on here and say shit like this, they don't say that shit about Jackson Dart when he had 30 goddamn yards passing. Do y'all know that it's a game where Jackson Dart had 30 damn yards? It's a play where a game where Josh Allen had 111 yards. Patrick Mahomes had 116 yards. So why are we putting heights and shit on Shedeur Sanders that we're not putting on Patrick Mahomes and Josh Daniels or Josh Allen? Why is that? Why does Shedeur Sanders have to play a goddamn perfect game every time he goes out without a bunch of the same type of people, Caitlin Clark looking fans? Why is that? I'm tired of hearing that shit. A lot of people are tired of hearing that shit. Look, somebody just left. They must be one of those fans. Double tap that screen when you come into the live. If you left, then yeah, good. I probably needed you to leave because I was talking about your ass. Double tap that screen. I need all the inferior people to come into the live and tell me why you hate Shedeur Sanders, why you hate Deion Sanders. Tell us why you don't like or why is Shedeur Sanders so special? These are the questions I hear from people in the chat. And when I listen, when I look at my comment section, some of the ridiculous things that people say about Shedeur Sanders, about the Sanders in general. And it, like I said, it's always the same type of people, and I love it. I love to display it, and I love to put it on Front Street so that we can examine the mind of people that say this kind of shit. Let's look at this play.
Tommy DeVito in 2023 on the Giants. He also could play quarterback. He won 4 games, had some high-level throws. Did that mean Tommy DeVito was the future of a very bad Giants franchise? That is not the case. But if
hold up, how many goddamn games did Jackson Dart won? How many 300-yard games did Jackson Dart have? So when I see little goofy dudes like this, I know that basically what he's doing is he started an anti-Shedeur Sanders channel, and it's a lot of them. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of them. But he's nitpicking about shit that he's not going to nitpick about Jackson Dart.
Before a single snap is taken, before the opening kickoff cuts through the cold Cleveland air, before the scoreboard has a chance to tell yet another brutal story about a season gone wrong, the day is already decided. Dylan Gabriel may be standing on the sideline today, helmet tucked under his arm, clipboard in hand, watching the Cleveland Browns prepare to clash with their most hated rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You love football, we live football. Here at Touchdown Talk, it's all about real stories, raw updates, and everything the highlights don't show you. So if you're ready to stay ahead of the game, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the next big play is always one video away.
Shout out to them, man. Nice videos, too.
he makes, one or two good throws. Like, see, he can play quarterback in the NFL. Yes, of course he can do it. There are other quarterbacks in the NFL who also can play quarterback. That does not mean they are franchise quarterbacks that you want to build your team around. They're also the plays Shedeur Sanders has, specifically in this one where he drops back 15 yards, lollipop up in the air, and it gets picked off. We look at Tommy DeVito in 2023 on the Giants. He also could play quarterback. He won 4 games, had some high-level throws. Did that mean Tommy DeVito was the future of a very bad Giants franchise? That is not the case. But if Shedeur's last name was DeVito,
if Shedeur's last name was DeVito, I would have a Shedeur DeVito jersey. That would be an all-time great NFL name, man.
For Tommy DeVito, his 17 extrapolated game sample size during his rookie year, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks, 400 rushing yards, 2,300 passing yards. Shedeur Sanders this year, also 17 touchdowns, 3,100 passing yards, but 24 interceptions. He's not had a good year, and there's a lot of other quarterbacks who can play quarterback in the NFL who maybe have got some reps during their rookie season and looked a lot better than he's looked.
Check out our Week 17 reactions and let us know what you guys think.
He makes, one or two good throws. Like, see, he can play quarterback in the NFL. Yes, of course he can do it. There are other quarterbacks in the NFL who also can play quarterback. That does not mean they are franchise quarterbacks that you want to build your team around. They're also the plays Shedeur Sanders has, specifically in this one where he drops back 15 yards, lollipop up in the air, and it gets picked off. We look at Tommy DeVito in 2023 on the Giants. He also could play quarterback. He won 4 games, had some high-level throws. Did that mean Tommy DeVito was the future of a very bad Giants franchise? That is not the case. But if Shedeur's last name was DeVito,
I would have a Shedeur DeVito jersey. That would be an all-time great NFL name, man.
For Tommy DeVito, his 17 extrapolated game sample size during his rookie year, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks, 400 rushing yards, 2,300 passing yards. Shedeur Sanders this year, also 17 touchdowns, 3,100 passing yards, but 24 interceptions. He's not had a good year, and there's a lot of other quarterbacks who can play quarterback in the NFL who maybe have got some reps during their rookie season and looked a lot better than he's looked.
Check out our Week 17 reactions and let us know what you guys.
Before a single snap
Hold
is
up.
taken,
Let's listen, y'all.
We're talking about how there ain't really no quarterback in this draft, right? Let it ride with Shedeur. I mean, he hasn't been good. We try to talk ourselves into it as much as we can. Every advanced metric indicates that he has been maybe the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. What I've seen him, he has not looked like the worst quarterback in the league, but there are numbers to indicate that fact. However,
Hold up. How in the fuck can his numbers be worse than any quarterback in the league when he's only played 7 games? How? In what way? How in the hell could you say that Shedeur Sanders got the worst numbers in the league when we know goddamn well he has not played but 7 games and everybody else has played? Like, I see what they're trying to do here with the numbers, and I see how they're trying to play a lot of games. That's what they're doing. They're playing a lot of fucking games with the numbers. And the numbers are not saying that Shedeur Sanders is the worst if he has 16 games like the rest of these guys had. So, and they be talking a lot of bullshit, but we're gonna listen. But that's what we're here for.
I'm just not sure you passed Fernando Mendoza off on the Cleveland faithful. Just not sure.
I mean, no, this is a compelling thing. Like, he has looked the part at certain points, and other points, he's held the ball too long or floated passes.
Handle media largely well, and they be trying him too, boy. They be trying to get him. But I love the way they try.
So that's the only fucking comment you got is he handles the media well. I don't like Bomani Jones, and I definitely don't like fucking Dominique Foxworthy. These are the 2 dudes in the media that I fucking can't stand. So I'm not surprised they said some bullshit.
And then obviously, given who his dad is, he knows how to handle the media, knows how to handle the spotlight. Certainly been under more of a microscope than any other. What did he get drafted 4th round? 5th round. Certainly under the microscope more than any other 5th round pick that's ever been in the history of football. And every clip that I see, you know, he seems to be handling it well, says most of the right things in the media, is who he is. He's himself. That's what you want out of a football player. So he seems to be handling it the right way. And then obviously, given who his dad is,
They want him to say some bad.
he knows how to handle
so
the
bad.
media, knows how to handle the spotlight.
Media, man. They
Certainly
want him to
been
say some bad
under more of a microscope.
There
So
was
bad.
progress, and that's what you want to see. That throw on the corner to Tillman, it's a high-level play, right? Starts rolling out left. You want to get outside the pocket. You got a wide stop by Judy, and then you have the corner by Tillman. You have Fannin running the crosser. But Shedeur rolls out, notices immediately, I can't get outside the pocket. Highsmith came upfield. Flipped my hips, set my base, short step, didn't overstride, didn't fall off, kept a good base, and threw a dime. I don't want them to just catch it. I want them to be able to run after the catch. That was an extra 20 yards right there. So that was a great throw. The two most impressive
Smart
throws for me, though,
quarterback.
were to Judy after the Fannin touchdown, because that's showing me that he's starting to process at a quicker rate. And that's important for a rookie quarterback. The one was the deep curl to Judy on the left. We went play action, got his head around quickly, hitch, ball. He recognized the corner had inside leverage, started crashing, threw it outside, great ball placement, but it was right now. He didn't hesitate, he didn't double hitch, and then 2 plays later, what happened? Judy's in the slot, he's running an in cut. As he drops back, Shedeur sees Queen at Mike look left. So he knows now, all right, I'm going to throw it right off the ear hole of that outside linebacker. Jalen Ramsey, who's a hell of a player, reads it. He starts driving downhill, 3 hitch ball, you throw it in time. You know that he's crashing, you protect him with the throw as well. Again, if he 2 hitches, if he's late, if he holds the ball like he's done before, that's a pick or it's tipped and it's an overthrow and something happens. That's high level stuff. And then the 3rd and 4th throw as well to Bond. That's just processing, getting comfortable. You have the drive by Judy on the shallow. You have Bond on the 2nd layer. I'm reading it. It's cover 3. The linebackers sit. They don't get in depth. 1 hitch. Look at it. Let it develop. Throw the ball over the top. 2 ball right over the linebackers under the safety to Bond for a big conversion. A lot of progress. That's the biggest thing for Shedeur now, is just being a little bit more consistent, still getting comfortable processing a defense, but I was very proud of the way he played. There was progress, and that's what you want to see. That throw on the corner to Tillman, it's a high-level play. Right? Starts rolling out left. You want to get outside the pocket.
We just gonna listen to what everybody got to say. I ain't filtering shit. We just gonna listen. If it's good, if it's bad, let's listen. What everybody got to say about Shedeur Sanders.
Make it a habit, 7 minutes of Tai Chi every morning, all the way for 1 month. This Monday, we will start the advanced Tai Chi workout.
We just gonna listen. Double tap that screen, man. Shout out to everybody, man. Happy New Year's. Hope y'all had a good one. Hope everybody was safe and remain safe. You know what I'm saying? Double tap that screen when you come into the live. I definitely appreciate you. We're going to keep this going. And for the 2026, we're going to be a lot more live, a whole lot more on the channel for sure. And I got to get to doing some long form content as well. So getting back on track, Shedeur Sanders press conference, getting back on track. Now, we're not going to do no press conferences. Shedeur Sanders isn't your typical 5th round guy. I can't stand when I hear that, because I don't think he's a 5th round guy at all. Shedeur on Deion Sanders' reaction. Asia Wilson. All right, let's see. Let's go right here.
I love 12's reaction when he was asked what Prime told him after his interception.
I don't think no father likes when their kids don't pick. You know, I don't think anybody likes when their kids do anything negative. So I think that's just a die. How would you feel if your son did something? I guess the same how everybody else.
Hey, Shedeur Sanders one of the realest when it comes
I talk to him a lot, you know.
I swear.
After the games, everything. So I don't know. I don't think he's just not gonna talk to me after another thing.
This man is the true definition of a leader. I love how he never lets the bullshit media affect him. Let me know how you feel in the comments, and leave 12 some love and motivation. I love 12.
Hey, did y'all hear about how many people got 12 jerseys around the league and people was crying and shit? And it had a big effect and a big impact on how people felt about him getting jerseys, getting his jersey for the Christmas holiday, man. It's touching.
12's reaction when he was asked what Prime told him after his interception.
I don't think no father likes when their kids don't pick. You know, I don't think anybody likes when their kids do anything negative. So I think that's just a die. How would you feel if your son did something? I guess the same how everybody else.
How would you feel if your
my
son
dad.
do a
I
pick?
talk to him. I talk to him a lot, you know. after the game.
Hey, Shedeur the GOAT, man. He the
So,
media GOAT.
I don't know. I don't think he's just not gonna talk to me after that thing.
This man is the
Hey,
true
you gotta
definition of a
love this
leader.
dude,
I love
man.
how he never lets the bullshit media affect him. Let me know how you feel in the comments and leave 12 some love and motivation.
Hey, man, I know for some of us, some people might hate it, but I love seeing Shedeur in the media. That's one of the best parts I love about seeing Shedeur Sanders. Oh, man. He be killing them in the media, man, I swear. Double tap that screen, you coming to the live, man. This is the year reflection of Shedeur Sanders, man. Everything he went through in the last goddamn year. As far as the media, he been through a lot. And today, man, we just gonna reflect on Shedeur Sanders. Everything that went down. The positive, the negative, the good, the bad, the ugly. Shout out to everybody who is tapped into this wild situation, man. We seen a young kid who's supposed to be a top 5 prospect in the NFL, number 1 or first
We're
round
better off
draft pick,
finding in the second round in free agency receivers
and just so happens that he fell in the draft, folks. He fell in the draft. He fell in the draft. Crazy. We ain't never seen nothing like it, but we are reflecting on all that today, right here, right now. Matter of fact, right here, I'm gonna go over here to one of the infamous interviews that people say is the moment that the draft class switched on him. You know, when the team switched and said, you know what, I don't want this kid, he's too arrogant. So let's run it. This is the interview right here. Or it looked like the interview.
I just like throwing the ball a lot. Shedeur Sanders drops that bomb
it's not.
post-game, and the internet
I thought it was.
explodes. No apologies for the picks, no excuses, just pure, unfiltered swagger after burying Pittsburgh 13-6. This rookie's owning his aggressive style, turning doubters into believers overnight. Viral clip hitting millions, because who else talks like that after schooling a Hall of Famer? But does this confidence crack under Bengals pressure next week? I just like throwing the ball a lot.
I think that was a reach. I think that was a reach right there. Double tap that screen or hit that like button when you come into the live, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think that was a reach right there. I don't think that it was nothing like that. But let's go. "12 energy in this motherfucker. Let's go."
Whenever we get off rhythm, get back on rhythm, get back on track. And I think that's the next part of my game I'm trying to evolve is whenever it's either we're stagnant or some adversity comes and being able to get back on track.
Do you feel like you should?
I can't think about what other people opinion or what they view me as. I know the teams that we go against, I know they definitely respect me in the passing game for sure. But I can't
Ain't no
be
question.
accountable for somebody else's decisions. I'm truly thankful. I'm thankful that I was able to come here. I'm thankful that I do have a relationship with all the coaches. And I'm thankful that just being evolving from day one, evolving from being a hungry dog to now, like it's exciting. And sometimes I think about those days, So I don't take anything for granted. I think overall the communication with the coaches and everything been really good, and I'm just thankful to just be here in general. Whenever we get off rhythm, get back on rhythm, get back on track. And I think that's the next part of my game I'm trying to evolve is whenever it.
What do you think we're better off finding in the second round in free agency? Receivers and offensive linemen, or a quarterback? Receivers and offensive linemen. You can find them later in the draft.
See, this dude know what the hell he's talking about. You already got a quarterback. And if you continuously stay on this quarterback carousel, shit is never going to change. You have to figure out who is your quarterback. And as soon as stupid franchises like Cleveland, I hate to say it, but as soon as they figure that shit out, the sooner that they can have a real quarterback that they can invest in. Every time, since Bernie Kosar, y'all, since Bernie Kosar, I've been watching football for a long goddamn time, but ever since Bernie Kosar, they have been looking for somebody who they thought could be something like Bernie Kosar or something like anybody that's a franchise quarterback on other teams. Now you got one. You got like Patrick Mahomes is fucking popular. People love Patrick Mahomes. He's like a really, really big deal in Kansas City. In Buffalo, people love Josh Allen, right? They love Josh Allen. I would say in Cleveland, people love Baker Mayfield, but they didn't love him initially. You know what I'm saying? It was a love-hate thing. They love Baker Mayfield now with other teams more than they love Baker Mayfield when he was with Cleveland. So I want y'all to recognize that shit. That's the bullshit that they do. They love Baker Mayfield with Tampa Bay and with every other goddamn team Baker Mayfield went to. But when Baker Mayfield was with Cleveland, they was not in love with Baker Mayfield. Now that he's playing good, see, we had Baker Mayfield. We could have had him. Nah, because when he was here, y'all didn't love Baker Mayfield like y'all love him with somebody else. And the reason he's doing good somewhere else is because the people are showing him love. The people showing him love. It ain't because goddamn Baker Mayfield is that much better than he was when he was with Cleveland. Is that Cleveland had the same shit that Cleveland got going on now they had going on with Baker Mayfield. Right or goddamn wrong. This is why the Cleveland Browns find themselves in the shit that they always in, and why it don't never look no different in Cleveland. It's always looking real fucking crazy. Deshaun Watson, I don't care who you put there. You could put goddamn Jaden Daniels in Cleveland, and it would have been some bullshit. So how long has Jim Haslam even owned the Cleveland Browns? They got to make a fucking change. They need somebody in there to change the culture. They got the man to change the culture in the fans, but they need somebody to change the culture inside the goddamn front office.
Draft and in free agency. You can't find a quarterback almost anywhere else. What do you think we're better off finding in the second round in free agency? Receivers and offensive linemen or a quarterback?
So apparently the Cleveland Browns have went out and got a center because Wyatt Teller would not be playing in the upcoming game against the Bengals. Now, they went and got a center off the practice squad of the Detroit Lions called Kingsley Igwekum or something like that. I can't pronounce it. Let me know if I'm getting it right. But he's going to be starting this week coming up on Sunday against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's 24 years of age, and I hope he do a good job. I want them to go out with a bang. Shedeur looking good. I hope he can block and everything. We're going to see what they do Sunday, and hopefully we can get that dub. We can get that win. Let's go, Shedeur Sanders. Last game of the year. Let's go. So apparently the Cleveland.
Now, y'all hear that shit? The Cleveland Browns has went out and got a whole new center that's 24 years old, and we don't know if he can play or not, but we should be watching to see if it's any fumbled snaps. But that right there is going to tell you whether or not he's any damn good. All right, so we already know right there that that's what we got to look forward to. Shedeur going to be working with a new center, somebody Igwekum, whatever his name is. So go ahead and mark that down with your Rolodex right there. Mark that down for more shit. Every week, this dude is dealing with a lot of shit. Now, I don't know how often or how much people deal with shit like this in the NFL, but it seems like he is always dealing with a lot.
Browns have went out and got.
Shout out to that channel, too. They always dropping shit.
Why do I always think of the perfect response 2 hours too late?
Because your brain processes too slow under pressure. Fast thinkers aren't born, they're trained. Their brains retrieve and connect instantly.
How can I?
Here we go. Let's check this out. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. This shit is only 15 seconds. Versus the goddamn Titans versus the Browns. I don't want to see that. Here we go. Perfect. Oh, shit. This is not what I'm trying to see. There we go. Former NFL QB Brian Hoyer on Shedeur Sanders and his progression and how much a coach impacts QB play. This should be interesting. Let's hear what he got to say. Because I'm very curious on what Brian Hoyer, I don't even know who Brian Hoyer is, but we about to find out what he got to say about Shedeur Sanders and his QB play. His progressions. And this is from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I know they happy these days. They've been getting a lot of press. And a lot of their shit pop up a lot now. But I know before Shedeur Sanders, we didn't know who none of these people was. But shout out to them. Damn, this is taking forever. I do know that a lot of times I don't really get the takes that they be saying. You know what I'm saying? I really don't like some of the stuff that they say on this show. But nevertheless, we're gonna listen anyway. But we're gonna break it down. We ain't just gonna listen, we're gonna break this down. Double tap that screen if you just got into the live.
After a quick word from the Cleveland Charge guys, it is the most family-friendly fun in the entire city. They're on fire right now. They picked up a big win over the Wisconsin Herd last night. The Cleveland Charge back in action on Friday against the Long Island Nets. They are 2-1 in the second half of their.
Look, I was listening. Coaching matters significantly. Obviously, I grew up in Cleveland and was a fan.
Brian played for Coach Belichick and just heard our conversation and wrapped that up. So, Brian, how you doing today? Happy holidays. And what do you think about
I'm great.
From my man G. Bush's.
Yeah, I'm great. Happy holidays. I feel like I just always walk into like a storm of debate. That is just like, I'm like, what did I walk into today? So, look, I was listening. Coaching matters significantly. Obviously, I grew up in Cleveland and was a fan of the Browns when Bill was the head coach, and people were not happy with him. And then I played for him in New England, and obviously I came along after 3 Super Bowl wins and was there in 2 different stints and saw how his coaching obviously affected that organization. But also to the point, the players have to be able to go out and execute it. And so if you brought Sean McVay to this Cleveland Browns team, would it result in maybe a win or 2? Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. But also, ultimately, the coach can't step out onto the field. And so I'm a little biased. I think a guy like Josh Allen could have more of an impact because he's the one who's going to cross the white line and actually hold the ball and do it. And so I know we're talking in hypotheticals here, mainly for the reason of what are the Browns going to do and how do they get the right guys in charge of how you can get this thing turned around.
And Brian, to your point, like if the Browns called the Bills right now and said, we'll give you 5 first-round picks for Josh Allen, the Bills would laugh at them. You could offer them 10 first-round picks, they'd turn it down. Whereas if you said, like you could get any coach with 2 first-round picks if you wanted, like in theory, if the coach were willing to go. So that it's just, you're always going to take the better player. You know better than anybody how important the coaching is, of course. But to me, when you say the coach is more important than the player, it diminishes what the player is doing on the field.
Prostate exams are outdated, and here's why nobody talks about it. Do this tonight before going to bed and see if you can sleep through the night without getting up even once to go.
Yeah, I think Bill always used to have a saying and say, good players can't get past bad coaching. And he would take that and put that on himself sometimes and say, look, I screwed that up. And I always thought that was, for the leader of a team to kind of take the heat like that was always great. And I'm sure this maybe throws some salt in some of the wounds there in Cleveland, but I've watched what Mike Vrabel has done here in New England. And that's a guy who understood what culture he wanted to bring. He understood, and we just interviewed him on our podcast a few days ago, or I guess it was yesterday. And we asked him about his time in Cleveland and what that gave to him. And he said, I had a unique role there. I was helping with the development of young players. I got to see things from a perspective of the young guys in this league. It's different from when I was a young guy in this league. And he said how much that prepared him in this second go around as a head coach. And the one thing about Vrabel, you would say, is this guy's an alpha dog. Like, no one's going to mess with him. And I think when you have a guy who's in that leadership role, that one has been in your shoes as a player, and then two demands a very high level and a high standard of you, but then also loves you up. You saw him out there on Sunday running out to Drake May when he took a shot, and they asked Drake about, he said, look, he coaches us hard, he's tough on us, but we know he loves us too. And it's a very fine balance. And so I think Vrabel's, EQ, IQ has allowed them to accelerate their process. So I think if you're the Cleveland Browns, how do you find, and look, we don't know what will happen with Stefanski, but if you move on from him, who are you going to find that's going to be a leader of men and rally the troops in an organization that just doesn't matter who's there? It's Jay, I think you said it, like the boss is still the Haslam family. Like, how are they going to get out of the way and hire someone to let them do their job?
Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. And to your point about Mike being alpha, and listen, I get the argument about the importance of the quarterback. But the reason why I would, if you're talking all-time great coach, all-time great quarterback, the coach has a shelf life longer than a player, number one. But number two, it's to what Brian was talking about. Mike is the ultimate alpha. He just is. He was that at Ohio State when he was a player. I remember John Cooper didn't need to dispense player discipline.
Well,
Mike Vrabel did it.
They had three dudes.
They did.
And Finkus, Vrabel, and Fickle.
Yes. And they were the sheriffs on that team.
They ran the
show.
I
covered that team. I was there in practice many times, and I watched it. And so,
Jay, Vrabel, as Brian just said, coaches hard. Remember we were talking before?
I love that.
The players today want hard coaching?
Yes, I love that.
Well, Mike Vrabel does it. It's working.
And that's why that's what I'm saying.
But he's also not like Belichick, and Belichick
didn't give them love.
Correct. Right, you said he loves you up. Like that's you got to be able to. Tomlin did. I played for Mike Tomlin. He did that too. I was with him for a short period of time, but he would be hard. He would smack you on the rear end, but then he'd pat you on the back.
And I think, Brian, we talked about this earlier about the difference in mentality of today's player versus the player when you played with.
Man, Mike Vrabel got the goddamn Patriots looking like the old Patriots. I mean, they playing good. They look all right.
The mentality was, and then even go back to the 70s. It's clearly different. And I think what I really appreciate about Mike is Mike played for Belichick. He knows how hard a coach he can be. I think Mike's smart enough to read the room and to kind of gauge the mentality of today's players and know that Belichick's style wouldn't work today. There'd be too many revolts within the locker room. So Mike added the gear of tough love, but a loving father too. And I think he pulls that off as well as anybody. And to the point of, they had Drake May last year, a great quarterback. They add Mike Vrabel to the mix, and suddenly they're in line to get the 1 seed. Not many folks thought that was possible last year when they were winning 2 or 3 games.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And look, through the span of 15 years, you see a lot of change and transition in the way that the players come into the league now. It's very different, right? Like when I was a player in college, my goal was to get to the NFL. There was no NIL. That was the ticket, right? That was the dream. Now you have kids who are told how good they are from 17, 18 years old, paid millions of dollars, transfer from school to school. And now all of a sudden they get to the NFL. There's no transfer portal. You got to, whatever team you go to, you better get in there and prove that you belong. There's no opting out, right? And I think Vrabel kind of talked about his press conference. They're told how great they are in high school. They're told how great they are when they get to college. The school has to keep them, so they tell them how great they are. The other schools are trying to prime away. They tell them how great they are. And now all of a sudden you get to the NFL, and it's a different sense of reality. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to escape. You either produce or you don't. And I thought his perspective on it, he kind of talked about, a lot of these kids.
If you live in a Maryland zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen carefully.
That I'm coaching are the same age as my son. And that really hit him as like, I see how my 2 young sons have been raised. And what.
Anybody know who the hell Brian Hoyer even played for? I can't remember.
What's important to them and how that relates to how I'm going to coach these young men on my team. And now I'll say this, look, he came to a situation because of he said this because of the quarterback and the potential that he had. And so, look, the reality is in the NFL, if you have the head coach and you have the quarterback, you always have a chance, right? And that doesn't mean Super Bowls every year, but it means playoff runs. I mean, look at Buffalo, and people have been tough on McDermott and Josh Allen, but they're going to be in the playoffs this year. And I don't want to see Josh Allen in the playoffs. I don't want to see a well-coached Sean McDermott team in the playoffs because it's only a 1-week season at that point. So you have to find those 2 pieces if you want to have sustained success in this league.
Brian, you were on a couple of weeks ago, and I asked you about specifically because the Cleveland Browns, have a need a receiver, they have a need offensive line, and I say, hey, which one do you think is a little more?
Charmaine, what up? What's going on with you? Happy New Year! Happy New Year for sure. For sure. Hope you had a good one.
Or impactful. And since you was like, hey, you told me offensive line, I went back and checked it and took a look at it. And I go back to the time period where, even with the Patriots, like Dante Scarnecchia, who's one of the greatest offensive line coaches of all time. Like, he's right up there with Bill Callahan. And I look at, he retires, Brady has a bad year, he comes right on back. They pick the offensive line right back up and keep it rolling.
That's right.
And so, it's a lost art. And I heard Harbaugh say this. He said the offensive line is the only position on the field in which they don't need anybody else to play well. If the offensive line is playing well, they can just play on. But every other position group is dependent on the offensive line to play well as on top of that. So whether that's passing the ball, running the ball. So in terms of what the offensive line is, I just think it's a lost art. And I do believe, even in my mind, one of the biggest issues that the Cleveland Browns have, and if they want to get back to giving their quarterbacks a chance, is retooling that offensive line and getting them back to a specific place where you can run the ball.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And I look at a team like the Detroit Lions, who've been so dominant, and they've had issues with offensive line all year. The center retires unexpectedly in the offseason. They lose Zeitler, I believe, I think he went to Tennessee. You have injuries in the interior offensive line. And Jared Goff goes from being this guy who was winning 15 games, and now all of a sudden he's just under duress. I watched that game against Minnesota the other day, and he is just getting obliterated play after play after play. And that also then goes to the running game. And honestly, you look at the teams that are really the most successful right now offensively, they're very well balanced. I saw a chart the other day of like the top 5 teams that play under center more than any other team in the NFL. Those guys are at the top of the league, and when it comes to most metrics on offense, and that's because when you're able to run the football, it opens up a lot of different avenues to be successful. You can run play action, you can run screens, you can drop back pass. When you can't run the football, and I look back to my last year in Cleveland, and when we lost Alex Mack, I really felt like that was the downfall of that season because he was the leader of that unit. He was in that system, the guy who made every call, every line call, got the line going to the right people. And we fooled people for a few weeks after he was hurt that we could still run the ball. And that's why we were able to still have our play action pass game and have success with that. But once people realized that we really couldn't run the ball the same way, now they start teeing off on you and you have to turn into a drop back pass team. And we just weren't built to do that. And so, look, it's the backbone of the entire offensive unit. If those guys play well, then you probably have a good chance that you're going to run the ball and pass the ball well. If they struggle, no one else can do their job. So you put it in the right format right there. If they do their job, people can do their jobs as well. If they don't do their job, it doesn't matter if you have the best receiver, you don't have time to get on the ball, or if you have the best running back and there's no lanes. Look at what Saquon Barkley, he struggled this year because that offensive line hasn't had the same success of getting him to that second level. They can get him to the linebackers, but last year they were getting up to those linebackers. He was getting to the secondary, and he had close to a historic season. So it all starts with those guys.
You heard it.
So you regret buying Bitcoin when, in fact, you could have gotten in on the next Solana for 50 cents.
Brian, we were talking earlier before you joined us about Mike McDaniel. There's a report out there that maybe the Browns would be interested in him. He was here when you were in Cleveland. Do you think that would be a good fit? Do you think he's got a good taste about Cleveland still in his mouth, or no?
Interesting enough, I think that was, with he came there with Kyle, that didn't end in a great way, but you want to be a head coach. And I love Mike. I look at the Cleveland Browns organization, and you got to go out and find your Mike Vrabel. You got to go out and find your Jim.
It damn sure ain't Kevin Stefanski. And for anybody out there that think not, Kevin Stefanski time is up. And guess what? When they drop that news, and I'm just guessing, I don't got no inside information. When they drop that news that Kevin Stefanski is going to be fired, it's going to put a lot of writing on the wall, and people are going to start to see, okay, this shit is real. That's what they're going to start to see. The shit is real.
Harbaugh, you got to find a guy who, when everybody looks at that organization, they say there's one leader, right? Not the GM and the owner and the head coach and the quarter. Like, they need to find a guy who is that alpha, who is going to basically take the entire organization and make it his. I don't know if Mike McDaniel is that type of personality to be able to do that. I think Mike is a great guy that goes into a situation where they have a lot of talent, a lot of speed, the way that he builds his offense. And also, I think Teddy Bruschi talked about this one time on NFL Live. You got to, when you're interviewing a coach, it's great to look at stats and what all of those things that he's done. But you ultimately have to hire a guy who's going to sit in front of a group of men every single day and demand respect and do it in the right way. And so I don't know who that is. I don't know what the coaching carousel is going to look like. Who are the main candidates? But I know a guy up in Minnesota, and I get it. There's an ongoing legal battle, but Brian Flores is going to come in. He ain't going to take any shit from anybody. That's just the way it is. And I was around Flo when he was here in New England. I think he got a bad rap down in Miami. He was clearly right about Tua and how that's ended in Miami. He knows how to coach, and he is an alpha dog.
Yeah.
He and I got into it several times out of practice because we would have this competitive period, and we do it in the right way. And so I don't know who that is. It is, and I was around the main candidates, but I know a guy up in Minnesota, and I get it. There's an ongoing legal battle, but Brian Flores is going to come in. He ain't going to take any shit from anybody. That's just
boy. Listen, if they put him with Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be a goddamn problem. Double tap that screen when you come into the live, man. I'm trying to tell you, they bring Brian Flores to this organization, you're going to see Cleveland looking a lot different than what it is now. And I'm just glad, and it's a breath of fresh air to hear people talking about Kevin Stefanski getting the hell out of Cleveland. Because this ain't the only goddamn platform that's talking about Kevin Stefanski getting fired. You know, I believe that he probably already secured a job somewhere else, because the NFL is a family. They got friendships and relationships with people they used to coach with, and he'll be fine. But he getting his ass out of Cleveland. You can believe that. And this is just further cement to let you know that shit definitely gonna happen.
the way it is. And I was around Flo when he was here in New England. I think he had a bad rap down in Miami. He was clearly right about Tua and how that's ended in Miami. He knows how to coach, and he is an alpha dog. He and I got into it several times out of practice because we would have this competitive period, and we'd play for push-ups. And one time I got him. I was like, "That's right. Get down and give me 10, Flo." And I'll tell you what, he got up in my face real quick. We had to be separated, but that's the intensity of a guy that you want, who needs to be in charge of the Cleveland Browns.
I was pumping my fist, Brian, because for about 3 months I've been saying they should hire Brian Flores to be the coach.
That would be
I want a coach
insane.
who's a hard ass, which he obviously is. I want a coach that has experience but is not too old, which is him. I don't want another first-time coach where we don't know. Like he had that experience in Miami. He learned. He made some mistakes, I'm sure. He learned from them. He's done a great job in Minnesota.
That's what the fuck I'm talking about, Cleveland Sports Show. Whatever the hell y'all doing over there, y'all ain't my favorite goddamn people to watch, but I can tell you this shit for a motherfucking fact, that if you put a coach like Brian Flores with Shedeur Sanders, you're going to see the Cleveland Browns getting ready to go their ass to the goddamn Super Bowl. With the defense that they already have, and with Shedeur Sanders at quarterback, we ain't talking about no goddamn Tua. We talking about Shedeur Sanders with the proper, guidance. Man, listen, get the hell out of here. They ain't gonna let that shit happen in the NFL. I don't know what the hell they would do, but I guarantee you this: if some shit like that happens, it's gonna be a nuclear bomb going off in the NFL, and that is Shedeur Sanders. Make no mistakes about it. Double tap that screen when you coming to the live, man. You got to be crazy if you think that Shedeur Sanders could be coached by somebody as fearless and on their shit as Brian Flores. They don't want Shedeur Sanders had no good goddamn coach. But they had him with a good coach, and that motherfucker acted crazy. Now, I don't know if any of y'all know, but there is some speculation, and I believe it to be less of speculation and more of truth now, that Kevin Stefanski's wife is the son of Tim McGarver. We're going to do some goddamn research on that right now. And Tim McGarver is the reporter that Deion Sanders threw a cold bucket of ice water on. He threw it on a reporter because Tim McGarver was saying that Deion Sanders was being selfish by playing two sports and not just committing to one, and that he was slighting football and he was slighting baseball. And the dude went on a campaign about Deion Sanders, and Deion told him to stop doing the shit, but he kept on doing it. So with that being said, he dumped ice water on him. Now that is allegedly Kevin Stefanski's wife. So she is a McCarver. Whatever her name was before she married Stefanski, it was McCarver. And that is the guy who Deion did that to. So what are the chances that Kevin Stefanski would like Shedeur Sanders, who didn't have shit to do with that? And if that's the case, man, it's all gonna come out in the rinse. You know what I'm saying? It's all gonna come out in the rinse. But I believe that has something to do with this shit. That has something to do with this shit. Ain't no question about it. And right now, we know that no matter what the hell they said before the draft, that we see zips being thrown down the field. We see games being won. We see haters leaving and not showing back up. So with that being said, it playing out exactly like I said it was going to play out. It playing out exactly like I said it was going to be playing out. A lot. The people who was happy was going to be crying. And the people who was, not so happy was going to be laughing. Yeah, that part. You know what I'm saying? That part. It really happened the way I said it was going to happen, though. You know what I'm saying? So, you got Shedeur Sanders who is about to take over the goddamn Cleveland franchise. And mark my words, when Kevin Stefanski gets fired, that right there is going to be the time for you to either say, you know, pick a side. Pick a side. Because guess what? The side already been chosen. The side has already been chosen. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Happy New Year's. It's 2026. We always in the mix. And you about to start seeing and hearing the firing of Kevin Stefanski, because that's a reality now. She said Kevin Stefanski was fired Monday or Monday coming. Yeah, that's gonna be the yeah. It's time to drum it up, y'all. Drum it up. Kevin Stefanski. Hey, Charmaine, type it in the chat. Kevin Stefanski fired. 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 That's what I should have named the goddamn this goddamn video. I should have named this Fire. His ass is gone. He got one more day. He got one more weekend. He got one more weekend. And this is it. This is it for Kevin Stefanski right here. The Browns is on the clock. You know what I'm saying? They got a little while longer to announce what the hell they are actually doing with this bum-ass coach who's mad over some shit that probably happened when he wasn't even born. I don't know how old Kevin Stefanski is. Maybe he was born, but either way, we know that his wife is Tim McCarver's daughter or granddaughter or whatever the hell the case may be. I would say it would have to be his daughter. But because of some shit that happened with Shedeur Sanders, again, it always reverts back to Shedeur Sanders, man. It must be the money. It must be the hate. It must be the same people that was mad back then. Don't go nowhere, Chase Mason. It must be the same damn people. But Monday, Kevin Stefanski's ass is out of here. Hey, Charmaine, I don't know how you put up the link so that people could get on the show. Because I would invite Chase Mason on the platform. Let's talk about it. For real. I don't even know how to do that. Let me see. Put user in time. Nope. I don't know how to do none of that shit. But if I did, yeah, Charmaine, I gotta put you up on the platform. I gotta put you on the panel. Present or invite. Yeah, I don't know how to do that shit. But if I did, let me see, what is this? Send this link to your guests. You may also want to share instructions with us. You have up to 6 people on screen at once. Upgrade if you need more. Copy. Oh, all right. I gotta send it to you like in Messenger, Gmail, email, or Messenger. Guests can stream in their own destinations. I'm not gonna put that on. But boom. I guess what you gotta do is yeah, Chaser. He kind of a hater. He a hater, but we allow haters. I guess if you take this link right here and copy and paste, I don't know. That's the link right there, though. It's usually a link that you can click on and you just pop right up on the goddamn screen. Remember, had to do a class on goddamn SoundCloud. But this shit a lot better. I ain't gotta have my goddamn camera pointed at the goddamn screen. But yeah, man.
You know, what can you say? I mean, the way you describe him just makes me want him even more. Sounds like an unbelievable choice.
He's a tremendous coach. He learned, you know, obviously under Bill in New England, but then you go out and get a taste of it on your own as a head coach for the first time. You see what works, you see what doesn't work, and I think that goes a long way of what we talked about earlier. How does today's players respond to that type of coaching? And I would say the big thing with Flo is he's gone out and had some other experience since he was a head coach. He understands how to relate to these young players. You look at the way that those defensive guys look at him in Minnesota, and they understand that hard coaching equates to success. It's a ferocious type of style of play. I think you need that in the AFC North. I think he's the right attitude. I don't know if they will look at his way, but I think that's the type of guy you want to go out and hire who, when everybody looks at that organization, they're going to say there's an undoubted leader of who we're going to go to with anything.
Yeah, we'd love to have that. Do you think the legal issue, and we know the NFL can freeze guys out if they want, do you think that becomes a roadblock at all to him becoming a head coach again?
Man, I ain't gonna let Brian Flores.
Watch what water does to our body.
Study out of China took healthy volunteers and they put them on a 14-day water.
You really think they're gonna let goddamn Brian Flores?
I mean, look, I wouldn't put it past the league to try
You heard what he said.
to do something like that, but also I know owners want to win, and if they believe that he's the best candidate, I think you throw that out the window and say, I believe in this guy. Maybe that goes by the wayside, and now he's the head coach. And he brings the type of attitude that you need. I look at what Cleveland needs as a leader of men. You know, I'm not looking at the schematics of it all. I think you need a strong personality who's going to go in there and say, this is the way that we're going to do it. I'm going to earn the respect of the players first and foremost. That's what matters most, right? If you earn their respect, then you can coach them hard. And I think he has the right tools to be able to do that. He has the success, and I think he's learned a lot as he's progressed as a coach in this league.
Yeah, it's a copycat league, and I'm sure that everybody that's going to be filling a head coaching vacancy this cycle is looking at what New England did with Vrabel and the kind of coach he is and the success they've had. And, you know, you imitate success in this league. That's what happens. Before we let you go, we want a progress update from you on Shedeur Sanders. What have you seen from week one to where we are now? Where has he progressed?
Here we go, y'all. Here we go. Tap in. Double tap that screen, man. Let's get to it.
Does he need to continue to grow?
No, I thought he had a good game the other day. I thought, look, as a quarterback, I look at that first interception. He's getting hit in the back. The ball gets tipped. I'm not putting that on Shedeur. If I'm going to nitpick, I would have thought maybe he starts his read with the out route by the tight end, usually in an offense where you have.
Hey, you got to appreciate an honest white man these days because motherfuckers be out here bullshitting and faking and real names in this shit. And they be lying. So shout out to Brian Hoyer for being honest. God damn, that's number one.
Have a short out route. That's maybe where your progression starts. So maybe he can get it off a little bit faster, but I'm not putting that on him. The other one is just, I think as he progresses, you have to eliminate bad football, right? That's the only way to be successful in this league is to eliminate the bad football. And when you make that mistake, don't make it the next time. And so laying it up there in the middle of the field, I didn't think was a great decision, but there was a lot of plays in this game that I thought he looked better in the pocket. He stepped up. I thought the throw to Tillman, great touch, accuracy on that, especially in those conditions. I think that's one thing I was impressed with. Like, this is AFC North football. Are you going to be able to play in the elements? And I thought he did a good job. The throw to Judy across the middle was great. High-low and the linebackers, the touchdown to Fannin, I think finding that matchup and getting to him. So I see improvement. There's no doubt about it. Now has to come the consistency, because I think if you can eliminate some of those head-scratching plays that he makes and keep stacking the good ones, I think he makes his case for at least having a shot to compete for that starting role next year.
Brian, real quick before you go, do you have interest in coaching? Is that something on your radar, or is it more media, or what do you think?
Man, that man ain't thinking about no goddamn coaching. But anyway, man, I like what he said. I agree, and that comes with learning, and that comes with being able to get the proper goddamn preparation for a entire season, not just being thrown in at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? So some of the plays that he makes, like that interception, I was hoping like that was a ball that he was throwing away. I thought it was going out of bounds. When I seen it coming down, still in play, the way he threw it, I thought that it was a goddamn play that he was throwing away. It didn't look like he was throwing it with accuracy. It looked like he threw it like, get this shit out of here. So when it came down in the hands of a defender, I was like, come on. Goddamn well, you weren't going to make that throw, especially with that candy-ass throw. That wasn't like a bullet. He left it up in the air too long, but here we go.
Not right now. I look at it, and my son's 13. He's starting his football journey. I want to make sure that I'm around for that. I have so much respect for the coaches that I played for, the time, the effort that they put in, and I'm just not ready to commit that much time from my life right now. So I enjoy doing what I'm doing with you guys, get on here and still talk about the game. It keeps me very connected. Now, I watch a lot of film. I do several different things, local and national, and so I'm watching a lot of it. I feel like if I want to jump into it at some point, maybe my son's off to college or whatever it might be, I still have those connections, and I still love the game, and that's why doing this stuff is awesome. Especially you guys pulling me back into my hometown of the Cleveland Browns definitely keeps me watching them a little bit more, and had them on the split screen with the Patriots game the other day. And once it got out of hand, I focused on the Browns game. So it's a lot of fun to do.
Is your son a quarterback?
Yeah.
And we're working on it. We're working on it. You guys wouldn't believe this. I have to pay a quarterback coach to coach him to play quarterback because I'm just his dad and I don't know what I'm talking about. So every once in a while.
That's wild. That's wild work. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a different voice. It's a different voice.
I want to chime in, Brian, because dude, I got a 16-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son as well. They don't listen to. I can't coach them in anything. But their
Just
own
dad,
coaches, their own private coaches, they listen like I wish they would listen to me. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's wild.
So what I've been doing is
I
help coach at a high school here that's I would call like the St. Ignatius of Boston, and I help coach at the varsity level. That way, by the time if he makes it up there, I'm already a coach, so he can't say like I try to do it just to help him. So we'll see if he gets there.
I like your long-term thinking on that.
Yeah,
You've got it figured out.
Yeah.
There's nothing greater than watching your kids chase their dreams. And
Tim Couch's kid's now playing in college.
He is playing in college, and so enjoy it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. Happy
Thanks,
New
Brian.
Year to
Thank
you. And
Happy
I
New
know
Year,
that you're not
guys.
going to
Good
echo
to see
this
ya.
sentiment, but maybe Will is a Big Ten guy.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Hey, my guy Matt Patricia down there. I'm rooting for Matty P. I think
That's right.
they have a tremendous team. They've been a lot of fun to watch. And look, I'm an Ohio guy, so as long as it's not the team up north, we can definitely cheer for the other Big Ten.
There you go. Who are they going to play in the? Who do you think they'll play in the championship eventually? Assuming you
I haven't looked at the bracket, but could it be Georgia? I think that would be a great matchup.
They play Georgia in the semis.
Yeah, they play Georgia in the semis. Maybe Texas Tech. Right?
I don't know.
Tech or
I want a rematch with Indiana.
Yeah.
If my goal was to lose my embarrassing gut and get ripped and I didn't have a lot of time, I do these two things. First, I stop BSing myself and realize that if I could have done it on my own, I would have done it already.
I'd like that. I think Mendoza's, look, we're talking about quarterbacks. Like that Mendoza kid, I think I see a lot of qualities similar to what I've seen with Drake May, because obviously I follow him closely. Big, strong, super when it comes to the mental aspect of the game. I love when I hear him talk about reading coverage and things like that. So that'd be a great rematch. Look, we got to fix college football. This transfer, I'm watching, I think Iowa State has 17 kids on their roster. Like it's out of control. And yeah, it makes it to like we were watching the USC TCU game last night, and my son's like, "Who do you think's gonna win?" I'm like, honestly, I don't even know who half of these kids are. Remember the days when Reggie Bush played for USC and everybody knew who it was? I didn't know who any of those players were.
Yeah, it is. It's a mess. Hopefully, it's going to get figured out because what they're doing now is not going to work long term.
Coaches too, the way they change teams.
Yeah,
also, well, they got to fix that too.
Yeah, it's a fact. I mean, I don't know if you heard Calipari's comments about it, earlier this week, but his comments, he made a lot of sense with what he said. A lot of these kids are going to graduate and they're going to have 4 different schools under their belt with no degree and no real place to call home when they're done.
Thanks, Brian. You're the
Brian,
best, man.
have a
All right,
happy
guys.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
That was great insight.
Super.
All right, let's tap in, man. I got another video we're gonna pop in on and check out, see what they're talking about. This is from Pro Fan Talk. I like this dude, man. He be dropping it for real. It says, "What happens to Shedeur Sanders if Dillon Gabriel never gets concussed?" I believe they were gonna take him out anyway. I truthfully believe they were gonna take Dillon out anyway.
If
Dillon Gabriel never
Dillon
got
Gabriel
hurt.
had not have gotten that concussion. And I'm asking that question because we're looking back, or we're looking at the way things are going now with Shedeur Sanders and the outlook for him, the possibilities that exist because of what they have seen. And my question is, what would have happened if Dillon Gabriel had not have gotten that concussion?
My take on that and my answer to that, and y'all can chime in on the on the chat. My thought is, I don't even know if he really got concussed. Let's say he did. Let's say he didn't. They were going to take his ass out anyway. I believe that, and it was a wave going around before the game saying that Shedeur Sanders had contacted Deion Sanders and told him that he might be playing, so he wanted to have him in the building. That's for sure. I don't have 1,000%. I don't have 1,000% evidence on that, but I do know that some credible people that were around the Sanders family had leaked information that Shedeur made a call home to Deion Sanders or to Colorado, wherever he was at, and to be at the stadium because it was a chance that he probably was going to play for the first time. Now, it just so happens that Dillon Gabriel got his ass cracked up right before halftime. And Shedeur Sanders ended up coming out at halftime. Now, Dillon Gabriel never went into the tent. Not saying that means anything. You could get concussed and find out the next day. No question about it. But what I do believe is that Dillon Gabriel was going to get taken out of the game at halftime anyway, just because he was not producing shit. It really wasn't nothing you could do with Dillon Gabriel against the Baltimore Ravens. He had 7 yards at the time for like 61 yards. 7 passes for 61 yards. That ain't doing shit. That's doing nothing.
If he had not have had enough opportunity when he got it, if he hadn't had enough time. Those that believe in Shedeur, like me that watched him at Colorado, the Shedeurians, as I like to say, that believed in his talent and that believed that he was a first round, at very worst, second round talent, and finally getting his opportunity. This is what happens, and this is what everybody that makes it to the league, that's all you want is your opportunity. It gets even more deep when you look at somebody that was projected in the first round and then they dropped all the way. I mean, we saw what happened going back a couple years when Lamar Jackson sat and he sat and he sat and he was, I believe, the last pick of the first round by the Ravens. Because you had people that had this belief, and I use Lamar Jackson specifically because I remember watching Lamar when he was at Louisville. And I'm always interested because I went to Eastern Kentucky, which was right up the street. So when you see people from Louisville, EKU, Western Kentucky, University of Kentucky, that's all in my wheelhouse. So I'm always supporting. So when I saw what Lamar Jackson was doing at Louisville, my ears perked up. And I remember watching that first game. He was incredible. I don't remember who it was against. All I know is they couldn't touch him. Nobody could tackle him. And he ran for like 3 or 4 touchdowns or whatever. And immediately after that, the media contingency was he is a great athlete, but he is not going to translate to a good quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't have a good enough throwing game. He's not. It's exactly what you think it is. And in the very next game, Lamar Jackson threw for like 4 or 5 touchdowns. It was crazy. So even when you saw it on both ends of it, he can run, he can throw, and he wasn't dinking and dunking. He was dropping dimes. But you still had that media narrative moving the goalposts, and it was always something wrong. Same thing with Shedeur. There was always something wrong. From the interviews, they didn't like his dad. He going about it the wrong way. Everything. There was always something wrong. It was almost as if everything had to be perfect. And even if it was, they would still find something wrong.
Running breaks your joints. Tai Chi builds them back. After 50, you need that.
And now we get to this point because of the concussion. Shedeur Sanders had an opportunity to play. Do I believe that Stefanski was going to start Shedeur like the last 4 or 5 games of the year? I don't know. I know that kind of talk came out. They were going to let Dylan Gabriel start for like 6 or 7 games, and then Shedeur was going to start the last 4 or 5 games of the season. And the way they rolled out and the way they kept getting injuries and the way their offensive line was, it was going to be like that preseason game where he was going to have he's playing behind a line where most of those guys ended up getting cut anyways. So is it a fair shot? Was it a equal opportunity? No. But that's the game of the NFL, and the game ain't fair. But everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and say what he's not, because the majority of people were waiting for him to fail. And it was quite obvious because everybody, the positive, it was almost a backhanded compliment. Yeah, he threw a good ball, but that was against this team, or there was always something wrong with it. Like I said, a backhanded compliment or a but. Yeah, he threw the ball well, but he completed that pass, but. And then but they'll talk about him running backwards for 15 minutes. So they focus on what he does bad, never on what he does good. So I just thought it was interesting. But looking at, I went back, and it's funny how because of the way he has played, he has shifted the narrative on his potential and is proven Mel Kiper and some of the guys that believed in him pre-draft, proving them right. And why did it take so long? If all of these people get paid a lot of money to evaluate talent, how is it that they always miss? And those that always miss are the ones that everybody believes right off the bat. So here is I got a couple of clips that I wanted to show. There we go. Now this is the one. This is Colin Cowherd, and I forget what the other guy's name is, but listen to what he says about Shedeur. Check this out.
Welcome to the official YouTube channel.
Let's go. I think it's at 140.
And there is just some natural playmaker to him. I mean, the touchdown he threw to the tight end in the corner.
Yep.
Like that's a Colorado type play.
If you can't balance on one foot for 30 seconds, I beg you to try this. You don't need to train harder.
Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin.
And in the corner.
Yep.
Like that's a Colorado type play.
Yep.
And he does just bring you some more explosive plays than anything you've had.
Right.
I do think it puts into question of like, listen, they were not alone. No one was drafting Shedeur. So I don't blame like fifth round. He was there for a reason because none of the other teams wanted him. But like you took another quarterback who clearly isn't even close to as talented as this guy. And your organization is like the Browns are a bad organization.
Yeah.
For a team that has some good players, they sure lose a lot of games.
So I want to stop it right there and listen to what he's saying. And that's the question that I'm always asking. Clearly, Dylan Gabriel is not as good a quarterback as Shedeur Sanders. Did they think they were getting another Brock Purdy, or like what was the thought process when you had those two options? And hell, it didn't even have to be Shedeur. There was still a lot of quarterbacks that went undrafted that were probably better than Dylan Gabriel. So why did he get the shot? And that's my question and my confusion with all of these guys, that these teams pay a hell of a lot of money to do these evaluations. How did they come up with that conclusion? And go back a little bit further. Why was nobody going to draft Shedeur? There's been guys that come out in the draft in college with domestic issues, drug issues, been arrested, all kind of trouble. And then, of course, they want to put on the good face so they can go in the draft and get that bag. But you have a history of teams ignoring the bad stuff and taking the risky pick. So all of a sudden, Shedeur Sanders, who by all accounts really has never been in trouble in college, his only crime is being Deion's son. And that made everybody bypass him to their detriment. And then we get people like this dude in Cleveland. I think his name is Jason Lloyd. He was just outright lying. Or, again, you got somebody that doesn't watch tape. And I believe there's a little bit of both.
Oh, shit.
Because he says it. I'm talking to people in the building. I'm not a football coach. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I'm like, yeah, but you can see. Clearly, if you on a football show, you know enough about the game where you can watch tape, watch a game, and come up with a decent conclusion on what you're seeing. But when you so biased that you don't want to talk about anything good, or like I said earlier, it's a but or it's a backhanded compliment. Like, listen to this.
He still doesn't know what he's looking at. He still doesn't flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. This isn't me saying this. I'm not an NFL. I've never claimed to be an NFL coach. This is people in that building will tell me he still doesn't know how to flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He can only throw to wide open receivers. He doesn't make tight window throws. He doesn't throw guys open.
Well, that was a lie, because he threw guys open in preseason. So it's somebody taking what they want to believe, and they want to run with that story. They want to run with that narrative. For anybody to look at the things that Shedeur has done and then say he can only do this or he can only do that, he cannot do this, he cannot do that, then they just wasn't paying attention. And this is another situation, is like, this is why I have such a big problem with sources. Who was he talking to? Who was he talking to in the Cleveland Browns building that was telling them that?
No goddamn body.
And if you on a sports show, you ain't watching the games you couldn't see for yourself. Absolutely, he has issues. So does every rookie quarterback that has ever played in the NFL. There's not been one rookie quarterback to come in and play and just light it up with no issue.
And that's all the hell we saying, man. Cut the bullshit and all of the hate. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, look, it's the same people though. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta stop this bullshit to where we just gonna sit up here and listen to people lying. I don't care what sports network are they on or how credible they are supposed to be. They're lying. Blatantly lying. And that's the part of the this whole thing that got to be called out, in my opinion. That's the shit that needs to be called out, in my opinion. Bluffing motherfuckers.
Hall of Famers had issues. Everybody has to go through their learning process. Everybody has to take their lumps. And I've said this before. If Dillon Gabriel had performed like Shedeur Sanders is performing, there will be no question that Dillon Gabriel was the guy.
Oh, yeah.
There will be no question.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got guys like this that who are you believing? And you didn't question anything. You just took everything to be gospel. And I tell people this all the time. They don't watch tape. You watch a game and somebody else, a production crew or somebody, shovels stats in front of your face. But they don't watch. They don't learn. They don't study things. Proof is in the pudding. Don't give me a bunch of numbers. Numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. And you got to be good enough to discern which is which, when it matters and when it doesn't. You can't go by analytics. Sometimes you can, but you have to be able to discern when it's time to do what. And when I see stuff like this, I don't understand how these guys get on the sports shows and say what they say, because clearly they are not paying attention.
Clearly.
The worst state to live in right now is Maryland, and nobody's talking about it. I've spent 30 years in the insurance industry.
I just think Kevin deserves a better quarterback situation.
You know, Cleveland, Las Vegas. Vegas, those are two places I see as like, you know, they've done their preliminary research for a potential move.
You know, dealing with Stefanski's guy. I think that is a big move. Two quarterbacks, and one of them pans out.
When for the past 2 seasons, every quarterback, they've all played bad football in this offense, and you want me to blame the quarterback? It's never Kevin Stefanski's fault, at least according to Mary Kay Cabot, because she said this just today about him deserving better quarterback play.
I think that Kevin deserves a chance to coach something other than a rookie quarterback learning this game. Maybe it's Shedeur next season. Maybe it'll be somebody else. It could be a rookie again next season, but I think it'll probably be Shedeur. But I just think Kevin deserves a better quarterback situation. He just deserves a chance to coach a situation where you have a chance. And this year, they weren't going to be winning with Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I think it's tough to say, we're going to rebuild this team. We're going to turn it over to all these rookies. And at the same time, you have to go out and win football games with this crew.
Interesting. I love the reframing. I love the propaganda. I love the fact that she wants you to think or forget what happened in the preseason, in the draft season, where you drafted not just 2 rookie quarterbacks, but you also signed 2 other quarterbacks. So this idea that he never had a chance, no, the leaks that you corroborated said he really liked Kenny Pickett. The leaks that you corroborated said, hey, Joe Flacco was going to be the guy. The leaks that you corroborated, we're going to get back to, said that, hey, Dillon Gabriel can operate. He's a supercomputer. And this is no hate to Dillon Gabriel, but it is exposing the fact that they're just going to keep lying. They're going to keep saying weird things like this and expecting you to believe it and just accept it. How does Kevin Stefanski, the same coach who has had to give up his offensive play calling duties 2 years in a row now, how is he the victim in the situation? I don't know. I don't understand. But, you know, just so y'all know what Mary Kay is all about. This was after the win with Pittsburgh. And you know,
imagine making $453,000 in a single month as an affiliate marketer without relying on Google, Facebook, or ClickBank. Or
you know, Mary Kay tried to set one up on, right?
How much do you guys also love to go out there and lay it on the line and fight so hard for Kevin Stefanski as your head coach?
I mean, we fight for each other. I mean, that's everybody. I mean, I don't think they're fighting so hard because of me. I don't think they're fighting.
Hey, Miles corrected that shit. We fight for each other. Now, that's not leaving Kevin Stefanski out, because he could be classified as we. He could be included in we. But he ain't say we fighting for Kevin Stefanski. He said, God damn it, we fighting for each other. And I like that in Miles. Just like when they tried to put him against Shedeur, or they try to hype him up to talk about Dillon, he ain't do it. No, he sidestepped all that shit. He said, hey, it's a team. It's a team effort. Everybody on the team is important. Shout out to Myles Garrett, man. Shout out to Myles Garrett, who don't be taking the bait.
And so because of Kevin fight, because we have each other. This is a brotherhood. We don't get a second chance at this. So you want to make the most of it every time you step on the field.
Hey man, Mary Kay, she's just, hey, I think Kevin Stefanski, that's her guy. And I don't mean that romantically. I just think that, hey, she really holds it down. That's probably the one who she's been getting some of the propaganda from. That's probably why the tone changed so quickly when it came to the whole Shedeur Sanders narrative. He can't even pick up the offense. So, oh, he's acting pretty good. We know to not trust everything we hear from Mary Kay. We got to pay attention, because she do got leaks. She do got that, but she also be pushing a lot of Browns propaganda. But the truth is that it seems like the Browns are really looking for a new head coach. So this is from Mr. Doug Rush. He says the Browns have reportedly been doing preliminary research for a potential head coaching change, which could mean the Browns may be parting ways with Kevin Stefanski at the end of the season. Stefanski is another potential head coaching possibility that some have mentioned that the Giants should target. Interesting. If he were to become available this offseason, the 43-year-old is 44-56 in 6 seasons as the Cleveland head coach and won the NFL Coach of the Year twice in 2020 and 2023, the same seasons that the Browns made the playoffs under Kevin Stefanski, right? And of course, these leaks came out as well from This Is Football.
Openings, I just don't. I'd be surprised. But there are some 50-50s out there. Cleveland, Las Vegas, those are two places I see as like, they've done their preliminary research for a potential move. Doesn't mean they're locked into doing it or that they've decided yet, but those are certainly on my radar. That would make 4. And then you bounce around, you have a lot.
And shout out to Mac, the Buffalo. He does a lot of great stuff on Twitter if you want to give him a follow. He says, first, there's a leak saying longtime AFC North head coach wants to part ways. Then Kevin Stefanski avoids answering if he wants to coach in Cleveland next year. And now leaks are out saying that the Browns have already done research on head coaches. Now, to give, and this is even Daniel, even Daniel's talking about it. So, hey, this was preliminary research. But, it kind of draws back because some people are saying that, Kevin Stefanski is the one that wants out. He's done with the circus show. He never wanted to coach Deshaun Watson. He never wanted to do all these. He didn't want to be in this situation. Now, I'm going to prove that wrong, and we're going to do that at the end of this video. But apparently,
he ain't really had but 3, I think, Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and one other person is the only quarterbacks of culture. Let's just say that Kevin Stefanski has ever had. And so, with that being said, he don't want to coach Shedeur Sanders. He wants to coach Baker Mayfield. He wants to coach a Dylan Gabriel. He wants to coach a little underdog type of, short quarterback, I guess. I don't know what the hell that is, man. It's weird to me, but I see where the hate is coming from. I do.
And of course, it's coming from Tony Grossi. It's not that the Browns are done with Kevin Stefanski with back-to-back atrociously losing seasons in which you had to give up responsibility. No. Kevin Stefanski is done with Jimmy Haslam and the Browns. Is that what it is, Tony?
He didn't say, yes, I want to come back. And it would have been so easy if he wanted to. If he wanted to, like I wrote, he could have said, what kind of question is that, Tony? I'm under contract. We've survived the worst. Hell yeah, I want to finish this job. How hard is it to say that? And he wouldn't, or even a piece of that. So I thought he revealed that, what we're talking about is close to being right on the mark. That he's decided, screw it. I'm fine. Whatever Jimmy decides.
He decided, or they decided.
Well, mutually. I don't think Haslam would say to him, well, "We're going to replace you. How do you want to exit out of here?" I think they had a meeting about the future of the job, and Stefanski shared his feelings. Maybe I've gone as far as I can here.
Hey, that's something to think about. But I want you to comment down below. Do you think, dealing with us Shedeur fans and dealing with the Browns organization and dealing with apparently a bad quarterback position, is that what was too much for old Kevin Stefanski? Is that what it was? Or maybe just ineptitude, maybe just being an offensive-minded coach, not having a winning season, having winning seasons. I'm sorry, not having a winning record, I should say, and continuously having your offense falter, especially over the last few years. Like this is a what have you done for me lately? We're in 2025. We're not in 2023 anymore, right? We give that grace to young coaches. I'm not sorry, I'm not going to be Cam Newton. But let me speak about this because in the wakes of those, there is a conversation that has to do with Shedeur, because Shedeur is, there's, whether you like it or not, the head coach right now, Kevin Stefanski, is kind of has to be tied to Shedeur, right? We're going to get to why he's tied to Dylan Gabriel, obviously, but he's here. He did some things. The only issue that we have as Shedeur fans is that whenever a new head coach comes in, right, they don't necessarily always see eye to eye with the quarterback, with that roster XYZ. But the rumblings, kind of 2 different rumblings here from Cleveland media are that Shedeur possibly wants to start. I'm gonna have a separate video about Actually, I already did a video about why Shedeur should start. But these are some of the rumblings of what people want to see from Shedeur or the possibility of him starting. And then also, do people
You might never need to buy another phone charger again. This is MagVolt Pro, a military-grade charging system designed to do what most consumer chargers can't even.
do people, and this is the question I'm asking, I think this is the thing that's setting up. You got to look past everything. You feel what I'm saying? Because maybe they want Shedeur for 2026 because they want Arch Manning in 2027.
You have a young quarterback that I believe you can build around. I have to imagine Jimmy Haslam thinks the same.
I don't, Chris, that's what I don't know. That's what I don't think. I don't think they believe in Shedeur, but maybe they do. Go ahead.
And I also just think that, here's the thing, maybe they don't believe in Shedeur. I still am not convinced that Jimmy Haslam, don't get mad at me, okay? I think he's still waiting for Arch Manning. So I think he's going to say, you know what? We'll give him another year.
Arch Manning.
Here's the other thing.
He looked like.
Hold on. And Riz.
Now I am mad at you.
No, but also I think if you're going to make a change when Deshaun Watson is off the books.
Yeah.
That's not next year. It's the year after.
So, this brings up, and I'm going to let this video play too, as well. This is JR Cherry.
I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders and I'm saying he gives you a great chance. And why do I say that? Based upon the fact that this dude, one, came into the season late, has found a way to win a game against a team no one thought you had a chance, and you know what winning against. And on top of that, we've seen glimpses, we've seen signs. Now, we've also seen some things where we're like, dog, if you could just cut out the ill-advised decision-making on certain things, then we'd be better for it. And that's the worry right there. But I'm sorry. I saw enough yesterday to say to myself, give this guy a year, give this guy a look to see if he can be your guy and bump getting a quarterback with the first pick in the draft.
Interesting. These are the conversations being had in the world of Cleveland. I want to point that out. Now, I want to have a conversation, right? I want to have a conversation about Arch Manning. And I want you to understand that the same person in Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, thinking that Andrew Berry's there, thinking that there might be a new head coach, right? What is better than forcing an Arch Manning right on the Browns after getting Shedeur Sanders? Like, it gets real nasty. It gets real nasty the way these people are trying to play this game. You feel me? What if this is all just to get Arch Manning in the end? And me as a Texas fan and as a Shedeur fan and as a Texans fan, you feel me? I got to look at it and say the NFL is a cold game. I got to look at it and say, you got a man stuck on this obscene contract in Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Haslam, that you agreed. You have him still on the books through next season. Instead of going with a Mendoza or more, everybody's yelling about it. What if they say, no, we don't need a quarterback just yet, but it's just about getting locked in with his friend, the Mannings. And after getting probably one of the biggest surges in popularity from Shedeur Sanders, you gonna double milk the cow with Arch Manning numbers, cuz? That's nasty. And it goes to show you, and this is what scares me for Shedeur. These are players that are owners that look at their teams as investments. They don't look at them as teams that need to win. How do I not know that the Deshaun Watson signing wasn't to make the Browns more popular? How am I not to know that Browns getting Shedeur Sanders and milking him, that wasn't all about keeping the money on flowing because they know they wasn't going to win any football games? How am I not to think that they can cash in on at least one more year Shedeur Sanders? And even if he's good or if he's bad, if he's good, better, because then we draft Arch Manning anyway. Or sorry, if he's good, we doing our big thing because it's Shedeur. And if he's bad, now we get an Arch Manning stimulus. Jimmy Haslam, you a dirty dog. Just fire Kevin Stefanski at least do that. Because I have some things to put in perspective. Remember, I say this a lot. Kevin Stefanski, offensive mastermind. Offensive guru, XYZ, right? So explain to me this. Shout out to Mac again. Shedeur Sanders hasn't shown us anything that he could be a starting quarterback. When was the last time the Browns had a quarterback that could make explosive plays when everything breaks down? Give him a legit coach in OL core that isn't top 5 before we make any judgments. Here's Shedeur Sanders out here, way up here on the create rate. I was trying to say it right. Now I would love to get our EPA a little more over here. But we hanging out with Joe Flacco. Hey, he slings. Shedeur's a slinger. Like he said, sometimes I just want to throw a dog a bone. Now we can fix that. We gonna get better. We gonna do what we need to do. But it's a beautiful thing to show you that he makes a magic happen outside the confines of Kevin Stefanski. Go back and watch the videos. I'm about to go on a break, so y'all got time to go back and watch videos. But I was saying, do not start Shedeur. I think one of the only Shedeur Sanders fans like I don't start him. Forget about it. Nah, let him sit. Let him take his time. Because if that offense that I'm seeing with the guy that, guess what? He handpicked. Tell him, Josh Cribbs. Tell him.
Dealing with Stefanski's guy. But I think that is a big move when you get a quarterback that does not succeed. I think the payoff and the what you call it, a stalemate, is when you get two quarterbacks and one of them pans out. And also the rest of the draft panned out. Not just
That's something that we really have to take into account. And this is something that, we could talk about the statistics. We can talk about him giving up play calling duties as an offensive. We could talk about all that. We can talk about TJ Ward, former NFL player, saying Ben Johnson and his staff is light years ahead of Kevin Stefanski and crew. It's embarrassing. We could talk about the way ex-NFL, ex-Browns players speak about Kevin Stefanski. But the most, I'm telling you, and again, this is not to be shameful on Dillon Gabriel. I've been positive on Dillon Gabriel. Y'all know me, big Pacifica game over here, right? But what I've been saying is, it's not picking Dillon Gabriel. It's picking him where you picked when you had the needs that you had. At round 3, and again, if people want to say, oh, Andrew Berry. No. In the same way Brian Daboll takes all the ownership for Jackson Dart, right? It's the same way that Kevin Stefanski, that's the way it was matriculated through the media. That's the way that the NFL players and legends, and Josh Cribbs, by the way, that's the way that they're telling it to us, right? So it's no longer just some mysterious. No. This is confirmed people, a part of the business, telling you that Kevin Stefanski knew that Dillon Gabriel, hey, that's my guy. I want to make him the cornerstone of the offense. You feel what I'm saying? So when you do that with someone like Xavier Watts on the, and this week said Kevin Stefanski needs to be gone based on this alone. By the way, Xavier Watts was available in that 3rd round. Right? And mind you, this is a Browns team with bad offensive line play, aging offensive line play. I think there's only 2 offensive linemen that are going to still be on contract after this season.
Do you want to know where to invest $1,000 right now? Well, forget about AI, quantum computing, electric vehicles, cryptocurrency.
Right? And again, maybe you can blame Andrew Berry. I don't know. But again, this specific pick, this is a top number, the 3rd round pick. This is a top 100 pick. You had cornerback problems or defensive back problems, really. And guess what? Guess what Andrew Berry went and did? Got Tyson Campbell. Tyson Campbell played a phenomenal game against the Steelers. Right? You had holes at linebacker before you knew that your Mike linebacker was going to retire in the preseason. Obviously, Jock was out for the whole season. When he comes back, him and Carson going to go crazy. You feel me? You had holes at lineman, at linebacker, in the secondary, wide receiver. And you're telling me someone like Xavier Watts, who was balling out for the local team, the Falcons. I live in Georgia, so they're the most local teams. Not really. They're not like up the street or anything. But Xavier Watts doing what he's doing. He just had a 2-interception, 3-pass deflection day against Matt Stafford. Because apparently, if it was against the Titans, it don't count. Apparently. I'm sorry, Tyler Shuck. I wouldn't make a video about, but apparently when you play the Titans, it don't count. That's what they told us a few weeks ago. You feel me? So that's what makes it so egregious. That's what makes it so nasty. That's what makes it so obvious that if you want to win football games, you would get rid of Kevin Stefanski. You feel what I'm saying? He handpicked Dillon Gabriel. That was his guy. And he could, and I want that to be known. It's not because I don't like Dillon Gabriel. It's not. No, it's not all that. I promise you. It's not because I don't like Kevin Stefanski. It's that the double dipping of wasting a pick, basically, because you picked an extra quarterback. The extra quarterback that, and we don't even forget about reps. Let's not even talk about reps. Forget about reps. If you're my starting, and Kevin Stefanski has been quoted saying this, if you're the starting quarterback, I have to put more time into you. So instead of putting more time into one, you had to split that time. Imagine if the resources and time was, and this is for both. It's not fair for Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur. That's the messed up part. I feel bad for Dillon Gabriel. If that was really your dude, you need to stand on 10 toes and say, hey, I need to invest in this guy. And I need to ride it out. And it should have been, if it was a redshirt year, make it a redshirt year for Shedeur. Do that.
But the fact that it got exposed, oh man, he doesn't spark. He does. Look, y'all can put up all the nerds charts and well, he has more interceptions and da, and we can go back and forth. And I can tell you about the offensive line rating, the wide receiver rating. I can tell you about the awful offense that's been bad with Deshaun Watson, with Joe Flacco, with every quarterback. The offense has continuously been terrible. What do I say to that? When for the past 2 seasons, every quarterback, the expensive ones, the cheap ones, they've all played bad football in this offense. And you want me to blame the quarterback? I'm not blaming Dylan Gabriel. I'm not blaming Shedeur Sanders. I can't blame Jerry Jeudy. Maybe there's some awful juju in this offensive system that makes him want to hand interceptions to defensive backs. Have we thought about that? Either way, if the common denominator has there been 3 quarterbacks and you show me bad stats about Shedeur Sanders, then I don't think you're good at following context clues. I don't think you've read many books, like read them, not had AI summarize them for you, big dog. You might not be familiar with how context work, how you can't say 15 quarterbacks didn't get it right, but the 16th quarterback that also didn't look great. Well, clearly it's because that quarterback's bad. Really? Yeah, you must be a great problem solver. Hey, you be getting to the bottom of everything. You a real Scooby-Doo. I appreciate that. No, get Kevin Stefanski gone. Give the team a reasonable chance with decent offensive line play. A wide receiver one that isn't literally a walking meme before y'all pick them up. Right? Please, for the love of God. But hey, man, I'm just I'm just a Shedeur culture. It is what it is. But y'all be great. Y'all be phenomenal. Like this video, like this. If you don't subscribe, you like football content, and say goodbye to Kevin Stefanski.
Goodbye,
I'm
Kevin.
begging you, become a master of Tai Chi, especially if you're over 60. On Monday, December 22nd, we're starting the 28-day Tai Chi challenge for beginners over 60. Just 15 minutes a day to level up. In 1 week, you'll feel unstoppable. In 2 weeks, you'll move better than 90% of people your age. In a month,
we had to get my man Darren Smith from Kansas City. And Darren, like so many of my friends that watch the show, Darren be hot. He said, G. Bush.
And G. Bush, I'm gonna tell you what I told our people in the OTC. Folk can take it for what it is, but I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. One of the reasons why they keep talking about trying to draft another quarterback, sometimes you got to see things with the third eye and listen with a third ear. Remember what their quarterback room looked like last year, right? DTR, Deshaun Watson, along with who was the other guy? Jameis. This offseason, prior to the draft, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel. Then all of a sudden, Shedeur Sanders. Now, you know Deshaun Watson will be there, but you weren't worried about him playing. They are so, and they keep talking about getting, drafting up to get Mendoza, whatever. I don't know who talent-wise said that Dylan Gabriel was an NFL quarterback, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? But if you feel like he can do something with Mendoza, then he will give them every ounce of opportunity to, to put him in as a starter over Shedeur. Granted, they probably have to trade him, but yeah, it's just, it's nasty business over there, man. And I really feel sorry for the fans there because, again, for me, it's a dereliction of duty because you cannot say that Dylan Gabriel gave this team, the best chance to win. You owe it to the veterans. You owe it to your team to always put the best player out there. And look, you and I had this conversation on this show and off air that I felt uncomfortable throughout the summer when they kept talking about, he wasn't getting the playbook because you kept trying to make me, not you, but the media kept trying to make me feel like the Browns were trying to make me feel like Shedeur was not smart upstairs and that he couldn't understand the playbook, not knowing that, hey, he can read a defense better than anybody on that squad with the exception of Joe Flacco because the daddy is a Hall of Fame defensive player that taught him how to read defenses while he was in high school as well as college. And of course, he's dealing with NFL coaches and stuff who was coordinators up there. And the fact that you try to make it seem like he couldn't comprehend the playbook or he couldn't comprehend what it's like to be at the NFL level, like his daddy wasn't some Hall of Fame or something, really insulted my intelligence, as a black man, as a human, and as a media member. And for a lot of people not pushing back about that, really, really, really frustrated a lot of us out here.
I think one of the things that we looked at in a lot of people, let's just be clear. Even the fact that and I talk about this all the time, and they don't like this either. I'm gonna just keep it real. I said, they keep telling me, oh, we just need Deshaun Watson needs to go. He needs to be gone for the building. And I said, well, who thinks that? You or the team? You or the locker room? Shedeur Sanders ain't got no problem with him. As a matter of fact, they got a real good relationship.
If Jimmy Haslam had a problem with him, he would have showed up to his wedding.
There it is. Say it again, please, louder.
If Jimmy Haslam had a problem with Deshaun Watson, he would not have shown up to his wedding.
See,
in the same colors.
They tell on themselves all the time. That goes on between your little mind and your minimum gymnastics. Let me tell you something. Listen, let me tell you something about brothers. Deshaun Watson has more to tell Shedeur Sanders about what he needs to go through than anybody else out here in that media can. Because Deshaun Watson understands what it is to not be liked. He knows what it is to get booed by his own fans. He knows what it is to have like articles written and everything. And you know what? He understands. And you know what Shedeur said? When he said Shedeur Sanders, they was like, hey, we want you, Deshaun, to come over here and do. And when they, you should have seen it. People wrote it. I can't believe it. They're going to have him on the roster. I said, what did you think? Did you think that they were going to be petty and cut their nose off to spike their own face to get rid of him for $80 million just so you could be comfortable?
So you can sleep well at night.
So you can sleep well. I think we sleep well in this country with a lot of bad people everywhere. I think, matter of fact, we sleep very well. See, it's about I always tell you about this. It's your comfort level. It ain't about what it ain't about what you stand for. It's your comfort level with who's doing it. At the end of the day, Deshaun Watson ain't played in weeks.
Excuse me, what is the most amount of money you made?
I've done 27 million in the last 4 years.
And what do you do?
I sell digital products.
And when all else fails, just put it on Deshaun. Deshaun Watson threw the grenade in the whole building, and it caused Kevin not to be what? A good coach. He's always